Chapter 1592. The Night of the Giant Iguana. This was the largest giant iguana that had ever been caught on Hunting Island. Bouffifin's action allowed many people who didn't know him to know who he was. Many people who didn't agree with him at the beginning began to agree with him. When Bouffifin first arrived, Yuan once told a few instructors that he had a good relationship with him, that this kid was a good seedling. Although he didn't seem to have a good foundation, he could improve by leaps and bounds if he were to be trained well. At that time, not many people agreed with Yuan's words. Tang Yiping, who was known as Lone Wolf, made a bet with Yuan at that time. "Crocodile, if you can train this kid, I will prostrate myself before you. You will ask me to do 3 things for you unconditionally." Everyone knew that Lone Wolf was a person who would get what he asked for. He would never do things for anyone for free. Therefore, for him to say such words, it meant that he was determined to believe that Crocodile's judgment of this child was really bad. He was wrong. Therefore, he dared to say such big words. The first instructor, Dongfang Fan, who never joked and was always confident in his work, also said to Yuan seriously, "Don't spend too much time on this kid. This kid's foundation is really ordinary. It's good enough that he can become a martial arts master. If you want him to reach a certain height and realm, it's basically a fantasy." Yuan never hid these words from Bouffifin. He told Bouffifin that the more others looked down on him, the more he couldn't give up. That way he wouldn't get sympathy and pity from others. But one day in the future, people would point at the back of his head and say, "See, I said this kid was useless. How about it? I was right, wasn't I?" Therefore, Bouffifin risked his life every day and night to prove himself. He wanted to let those who looked down on him secretly look at him and whisper to each other, saying that they were so blind that they didn't notice him at that time. It should be known that Bouffifin was actually under a lot of pressure because the first instructor, Dongfang Fan, and the second instructor, Lone Wolf, Tang Yiping, were both famous for their discerning eyes. Almost all the people they chose didn't turn out to be useless. On the other hand, the number of members that the 8th instructor, Crocodile Yuan, could bring out was much less than the 2 of them. For a while, Bouffifin even suspected that Yuan had tricked him. Perhaps he had been abandoned by Headmaster Gu before he had even set foot on the island, so he had arranged for a mediocre person to be his instructor. Until one day, when Bouffifin witnessed Yuan's strength, which was no weaker than Zhui Ming and Lone Wolf's, he had a whole new level of respect for Yuan. Knowing that Yuan valued him so much, Bouffifin tried his best not to embarrass Yuan. This was no longer just a matter of his personal honor, but also a matter of Yuan's foresight. Because of this, Bouffifin couldn't be weaker than others. Since the day Bouffifin found out about Yuan's strength, he began his crazy cultivation journey. He used his own efforts to prove that he could do what others could do. Moreover, he would do it better and work harder than others. It was this Bouffifin that made people look at him in a new light. Even though the giant lizard he had killed was nothing in the eyes of the 8 instructors of the hunter school, since they could easily take out a giant lizard like him. However, Bouffifin was only a newbie at the moment. He had already shown his courage by challenging the giant lizard with his bare hands. When Bouffifin was defeated twice, the others joked that he had picked the wrong opponent and picked the biggest giant lizard instead. Everyone was joking because they didn't believe Bouffifin would be stupid enough to provoke the biggest giant lizard. This time, when Bouffifin dragged the largest lizard on the hunting island in front of everyone, all the mocking and sneering stopped. What was left for Bouffifin was only admiration and amazement. Even the headmaster was shocked by this. If it wasn't for Matthew's recommendation, the ancient magpie world might not have accepted a plain-looking kid like Bouffifin. But today, at his level, he had done something that shocked everyone. This kid really makes people have a whole new level of respect for him. Dongfang Fan smiled. He looked at the ancient magpie world and said in a pleading tone, "Headmaster, why don't you transfer this kid to my team? I'll train him well and let him." "What do you mean, Zhui Ming?" Yuan didn't wait for Dongfang Fan to finish. "Are you trying to poach him?" At that time, I remember that you personally told me that this child's bone structure was really ordinary. If you hoped for him to reach a certain height or realm, it was basically equivalent to a fantasy. Why are you trying to poach him now?" "That's not what I mean," Dongfang Fan said. I just think that he's more suitable for my training system, so I'm asking him to join me for his future achievements and benefits. Yuan waved his hand. Stop dreaming. I'm not giving this kid to you. It's useless even if you tell the headmaster. Dongfang Fan smiled. Look at how nervous you are. It's fine if you don't want to give him to me. I didn't say that I must take him. Don't be so unconfident. I'm unconfident? Fine, I'll give you a chance. We'll let the kid choose for himself. Yuan said. Let's see if he's willing to follow you or me. There wasn't a single student on the island who wasn't willing to follow Dongfang Fan. After all, Zhui Ming was more famous and stronger. He was the #1 instructor under the headmaster. Yuan also admitted this. He also admired and respected Dongfang Fan. However, Yuan was really confident in this matter. You said it yourself. The headmaster heard it. Dongfang Fan laughed. They didn't hide their love for talents. Ancient Magpie World knew that this wouldn't affect the relationship between them. After all, Zhui Ming and Crocodile had been through life and death together. They wouldn't fight over a student. Then let them deal with it themselves. Then let him choose for himself. Ancient Magpie World smiled. He hadn't seen a person who could cause a fight between instructors for a long time. Moreover, it was a kid with an ordinary root bone. This was really fresh. Can I also participate? Tang Yiping said unwillingly. I suddenly realized that I also liked this kid. We hit it off. Save it. Yuan and Dongfang Fan said at the same time. After saying that, the few of them burst into laughter. When this question was placed in front of Bu Fifan, he didn't even hesitate for a second. He directly answered. Of course I'm willing to follow my instructor Yuan. Why would I want to train under instructor Dongfang Fan? Many people felt that Bu Fifan didn't seize the opportunity and made a mistake. However, they didn't understand Bu Fifan's thoughts. Bu Fifan was determined to fight for himself. He wanted to be stronger than the people selected by Dongfang Fan in the same batch. He wanted to suppress them in everything. Only then could he fight for Yuan's pride. Bu Fifan wasn't just doing it for himself, he was doing it for Yuan too. If he left Yuan, he would lose his motivation and purpose. Dongfang Fan couldn't say anything about Bu Fifan's decision. He could only accept it silently. It was great that Bu Fifan could make a choice. It meant that he was a young man with his own ideas. A young man who wanted to achieve great things had to have his own ideas. It was also why Yuan had chosen Bu Fifan in the past. He had bet on Bu Fifan, and Bu Fifan didn't disappoint him. Everything he had done for him was worth it. Yuan also believed that the kid would become a remarkable person in the future. Bu Fifan's name was getting louder and louder in the Hunter Institute. His name would be mentioned in every topic, and he was either first or second in every training subject. As the genius of the Hunter Institute, everyone was familiar with his name. Chapter 1593. Bu Fifan did not know that being a straight-A student felt so good. He had never enjoyed the treatment of a straight-A student in school. Now that he had suddenly become the center of attention, Bu Fifan finally understood why those straight-A students were so proud. How could they not be proud? However, Yuan did not give him the chance to be proud. When so many people acknowledged Bu Fifan, Yuan only said one sentence to Bu Fifan. What's there to acknowledge when you caught a stupid lizard in such a pathetic state? You're still far away. With this sentence, Bu Fifan immediately cheered up. That was true. He still had a long way to go. He wanted to do bigger things in the future. He wanted to make greater progress and gain deeper recognition. Bu Fifan would never be happy just because of this small achievement. This was far from what he wanted. He had to continue to work hard. His goal was to become Su Yun. He believed that as long as he had the perseverance, he would definitely become someone like Su Yun. This was Bu Fifan's goal. It was a goal that would never change easily. Sometimes people were strange. Whatever they wanted would happen. Just as Bu Fifan was thinking about Su Yun actually contacted the principal through Matthew. The principal then contacted Yuan and asked Su Yun to contact Bu Fifan. Of course, the principal still did not know who Su Yun was. Bu Fifan was really surprised when he received this call. He now called Su Yun like Guagua. When he picked up the phone, he immediately said, "Dad." How did you get in touch with me? Yuan, who was at the side, spat out a mouthful of tea. Didn't this little thing have no parents? Why did he suddenly have a father? Could it be that this little thing had been fooling me all this time? Yuan did not leave this time. He stood behind Bufifin and listened to him talk. It's convenient for you to talk now. There's no one else around, right? Su Yin was afraid that his request for help would affect him, so he didn't want anyone other than Fei Fan to hear it. Bufifin felt that something was wrong behind him. He turned around and saw that it was Yuan. He didn't treat him as an outsider at all. He continued to say to Su Yin, "Dad, just say it. There are no outsiders here." Hearing Bufifin's words, Yuan was quite satisfied. At least this kid was loyal. At least he didn't treat him as an outsider. Yuan felt that he hadn't wasted his time taking care of this kid. I have some things to take care of, but I need a place to stay in the Pacific Ocean. Someone familiar with the Pacific Ocean can help me. Su Yin said, I've thought about it, and you're the most suitable. But I know that you must have a lot of inconveniences in the Hunter Academy. After all, you're not there for vacation, and you're not familiar with the Pacific Ocean. But do you have anyone who can help me? Bufifin patted his chest and guaranteed, Of course. Yuan rolled his eyes at Bufifin. This kid didn't even know how to brag. He had only been here for a short time. Even if he knew some people who would agree to help him, he didn't even know what was going on. Would he agree to help him find someone in the Pacific Ocean? Wouldn't that be stupid? It was impossible. Dad, let me tell you, my mentor is very good to me. He's very familiar with the Pacific Ocean. Plus, we're very close. If I ask him, he'll definitely help you. Bufifin didn't care about Yuan's feelings at all. Yuan looked at Bufifin in shock. Damn, you really know how to talk. Dad, my mentor is the 8th instructor of the Hunter Academy. His name is Yuan, and people call him Crocodile. What do you think? He's capable and loyal. Plus, he's handsome too. His looks are definitely off the charts. Bufifin immediately gave Yuan a big hat to flatter him. Tell me, how can such a loyal person not help with such a small matter? If there's anything you need, just let me know. As Bufifin spoke, he looked at Yuan with a face full of admiration and expectation. How could Yuan not nod under such a gaze? Yuan didn't know what had gotten into him. He actually nodded and agreed to help. Dad, tell me, my mentor has already agreed to help me. I'll help you, Bufifin said proudly. Su Yin was stunned. You have someone with you? Yeah, didn't I tell you? He's not an outsider. He's one of us. Bufifin said, Don't worry, teacher is a very loyal person. He just nodded and said that if he can do it, he'll do it for you. If he can't, then he'll create the conditions to do it for you. Yuan really wanted to pull this kid's tongue out. When did he say that? All he did was nod his head. Just nodded. Just that. Fifin, you're really lucky to have met such a loyal mentor. Really, I don't know what to say. Su Yin. Then I can only thank Mentor Crocodile first. Really, thank you so much. Bufifin looked back at Yuan. Yuan, who was frowning, immediately put on an indifferent expression. He couldn't let his students look down on him. It's a small matter, a small matter. Dad, did you hear that? He said it's a small matter, a small matter. Just say the word. Bufifin said. There's nothing my mentor can't do. I want to ask him to help me find someone. Su Yin. She's in the Pacific Ocean now, but where exactly? I really don't know. I don't have any clues. So, Yuan was speechless. What the heck, were you two arranged by God to play with me? What the heck? Do you know how big the Pacific Ocean is? Do you know how many islands there are in the Pacific Ocean? Do you know how deep the Pacific Ocean is? Find someone? Yuan was completely speechless. These two really knew how to think. Okay, no problem. Leave it to my master. Bufifin said. Dad, tell me, who are you looking for? I need to make a trip. Su Yin. It's hard to explain over the phone. But your hunter school won't let people go there casually, right? Of course. Yuan finally couldn't help but speak. This was his bottom line. If Bufifin agreed to this, he really had no other choice. Seeing Yuan's firm attitude, Bufifen had his own idea. How about this, Dad? Let's agree to meet at at the Intercontinental Hotel in Hawaii. When can you arrive? Give me a time. My master will naturally have a way to bring me out. Haha, even if he finds an excuse to go shopping, he can still meet you. If Yuan had a brick in his hand, he would have smashed it on Bufifen's head. This brat really had a lot of tricks up his sleeves. He could think of all kinds of ideas. Okay, then 3 days later. I'll wait for you at the Intercontinental Hotel in Hawaii in 3 days. Soo-Yun hung up the phone and finally felt a lot more relaxed. Bufifen was also very excited. Soo-Yun actually managed to contact him. How could he not be excited? Master, did you hear that? Bufifen asked. Yes, I'm quite unlucky. Yuan was speechless. No, I'm not saying that you're quite unlucky. I'm saying, did you hear that? Did you hear that? My dad is coming to find me. Bufifen said. Haha, 3 days later. 3 days later, bring me to Hawaii in 3 days. Yuan pointed at the chair beside him and said to Bufifen, sit down. Bufifen was stunned. He sat down very cooperatively and said cautiously, What's going on? Master, you're not the kind of person who changes his mind. You agreed very quickly? Yuan said. Do you know how much effort I have to put in? Master, listen to me. I promise you, my dad is definitely a friend worth making. Bufifen said. You won't regret helping me. Speaking of which, I really want to ask you something. Aren't you an orphan? Where did this old man come from? Yuan asked with wide eyes. Chapter 1594. Bufifen was dumbfounded by Yuan's question. He had never mentioned anything about Soo-Yun to Yuan. Since Yuan had already asked about it, Bufifen had nothing to hide. He told Yuan about his pitiful life as a scavenger, how he was adopted by Yifala, and how he met Soo-Yun. At this time, Yuan suddenly realized that this kid had quite a background. No wonder Matthew introduced him. Your adoptive mother is the famous Xinjiang Xinkai Hotel's female boss, Yifala. Haha, this name is really well known. Yuan said. In fact, he had never met Yifala, but he had definitely heard of the person who made Yifala become the boss. Therefore, he must have heard of the Black Widow. Actually, my mother doesn't have it easy. She's still serving her sentence outside the prison. Bufifen said. If it wasn't for my father, I wouldn't have known that she had done so many things that she shouldn't have done. So in my heart, although he's not old enough to be my father, and is at most my elder brother, I still call him father out of respect. Yuan was impressed. He really admired this Soo-Yun that Bufifen mentioned. He was definitely not a simple person. Otherwise, how could he convict this kid's adoptive mother, and make this kid admire him so wholeheartedly? TSK. The world was so big. There were all kinds of strange things. This made Yuan a little curious. He wanted to meet this Soo-Yun. However, it was really troublesome to bring this kid to Hawaii. If Yuan went alone, he could hide the truth from the principal. He could guarantee that nothing would happen. However, if he brought Bufifen, he really didn't dare to lie in front of the principal. If something went wrong, he really couldn't bear the responsibility. Although Bufifen trusted him as much as he could, Yuan still chose to report this matter to the headmaster. It would be best if the headmaster agreed, but if not, there was nothing he could do. He could only let Bufifen down. Although Yuan usually laughed and joked around, he was very clear about what was important and what was not. If the principal did not agree to let him bring Bufifen along, then he would go alone and explain the situation to Bufifen's father. It was not that he did not want to help, but he could not help at all. He was not reliable at all. Yuan didn't have any hope when he talked to the principal about this matter, but the principal didn't reject it directly. The principal had made it very clear that he could bring Bufifen there. This Soo-Yun was indeed not a simple person. With just one sentence, he was able to make so many big shots in the U.S. Beg Matthew to speak up for him. How could he be a simple person? If the other party had any requests, as long as it was reasonable, legal, and principled, then he would help if he could. If he couldn't help, then there was nothing he could do. This really made Yuan's jaw drop. This person was awesome. Even the principal had never seen him before, but after hearing this he relented. After all, this person was able to find the principal through Matthew. This was a sign of his ability. With the principal's support, Yuan could stand firm in front of Bufifan. He told Bufifan very confidently that he had already settled the matter of going to Hawaii in 3 days with the principal. He told him not to tell anyone. If anyone asked him why he was going, he could say that he couldn't say. Don't make up excuses. Here, any reason could be suspected by others. If you said that there was no reason, or that you couldn't say a reason, then others would believe that you were on a special mission. After receiving Bufifan's reply, Suyin immediately sent a message to Lin Ge. This was to make Lin Ge feel more relaxed, and also to express his opinion to Lin Ge. He told him that if there was any action, he should inform him as soon as possible. Because of the loss of contact with Phantom, Suyin entered his Pacific plan much earlier than he had planned. Originally, this plan was to be started after the company's film production trend shifted, but now it was so much earlier. However, Suyin immediately received good news. Because of Wan Qingshuang's advice, he learned how to pressure the management. The management quickly replied to him. Sky Entertainment Group's investment in high-tech film production was no longer just a theory. It was immediately put into practice. The new proposal was presented to Suyin. The new movie plan was also presented to Suyin. The new production team also reported to Sky Entertainment Group. Everything was going smoothly. When Suyin saw that the new movie that was going to test the waters was called Escape from the Pacific Ocean, he also made a decision. The plot was not novel, but the method of discussion was quite innovative. Then there was the innovation in the shooting method and special effects. These were what Suyin needed more. Like most people said, what kind of story was there? The story had been written too many times. It was the same story, but it depended on who was good at it and who was bad at it. If it was good at it, it would be a box office hit. If it wasn't good at it, it would be considered a loss of investment and publicity. In the end, it would be good enough to earn some money. Suyin agreed to this story so readily because what he needed to do now was to help a person escape from the Pacific Ocean. He felt that this was not a coincidence. It was more like a hint from God. The matter in Qingdao went smoothly. Wan Qingshuang also returned to Jibei to deal with the matters there. After all the management team got busy, Suyin felt a lot more relaxed. He could take the time to go to Hawaii. After booking the plane tickets according to the agreed time, Suyin and Lin Ge arrived at the Intercontinental Hotel in Hawaii on the 3rd day. The weather in this place was quite different. When they were in Qingdao, Suyin was still wearing a thick coat. Now that they were in Hawaii, he could change into a swimsuit. This island full of charm was indeed something to look forward to. If it were not for the fact that there were so many things to deal with, Suyin really wanted to call everyone here for a vacation. They could enjoy the sun, the beach, and the ocean. They could enjoy the best gift that nature gave to mankind. Brother, we have been waiting for more than 3 hours. Why is Bufifan not here yet? Lin Ge said. Is his master reliable? Is he playing with us? Be patient. We just arrived. Suyin, go back to your room and adjust to the jet lag. Maybe they will be here soon. Lin Ge shook his head. What jet lag? I am very energetic. I will wait with you in the lobby. By the way, I will go and get some coffee and volcanic beans. Otherwise, it will be too boring to wait like this. Okay, go ahead. By the way, buy me a bowl of Hawaiian noodles. I am a little hungry too. Suyin said. Lin Ge agreed as he hurried out. He was also hungry. The food in Hawaii was really quite good. It was a combination of delicacies from all over the world, and a combination of many unique Hawaiian flavors. It was definitely a must-have experience for any tourist when they arrived. Although they were not here for a vacation, they should not miss out on food and drinks. The two of them did not enter the guest room since they arrived at the Intercontinental Hotel. They ate, drank, and chatted in the lobby lounge. They even had to take turns to use the toilet. After waiting for 6 hours, they finally saw a familiar figure. Dad. Uncle Lin. Bufifan came to the Intercontinental Hotel and saw the two of them at first glance. He directly left Yuan and rushed over. They had not seen each other for so long. It would be a lie to say that he did not miss them. He finally saw his family. The grievance in his heart was not so easy to hide. To be honest, Bufifin was a little disappointed because he only saw Su Yun and Lin Ge. The others did not appear. At first, he had hoped that everyone would come here for a vacation. Now that he thought about it, he was too optimistic. Everyone was very busy. He was also a cultivator. How could he have so much time to enjoy himself? Chapter 1595. Although it had only been a year since they parted, Bufifin's transformation surprised Su Yun. The frail-looking kid was much more muscular than before. His thick shoulders, full chest muscles, and the bulging veins on the back of his hands showed that he had put in a lot of effort over the past few days. The first thing a martial artist had to do was to train their muscles and bones. Only when their muscles and bones were different from normal people's could they be considered to have entered the martial arts world. Obviously, Bufifin had entered the martial arts world very quickly. Otherwise, how could he compete with the giant lizard with his muscles? Not bad. Looks like Headmaster Gu of the Hunter School lives up to his reputation. He's really good to be able to train you in such a short time. He's really good. Su Yun patted Bufifin's shoulder. You have a bright future. Cough, cough, cough. Yuan walked over behind Bufifin. He coughed lightly when he heard that. Bufifin quickly turned around and started the introduction. Dad, it's all because of my master that I'm where I am today. It has nothing to do with Headmaster Gu. This is my mentor, the 8th instructor of the Hunter School. He's known as the Pacific Crocodile, Yuan. Nice to meet you, Director Yi. Su Yun quickly said politely. I didn't expect you to be so young and promising. I always thought you were over 40. I didn't expect you to be so young. You're not even 30 yet, right? 31, I'm 31. Yuan nodded. Well, don't call me Director E or something. It'll make people think I'm some third-rate director. There are many famous people in Hawaii. It won't look good if people misunderstand. Just call me Yuan, or just Crocodile. Brother Crocodile. Su Yun was still very polite. After all, he had a favor to ask of him. Of course, he had to be polite. Yuan laughed dryly. He should be the one who was surprised. After all, the person Bufifin called Dad couldn't be more than 28. You're still young and promising. Yuan didn't know what to say, so he just casually chimed in. Of course, these weren't empty words. For someone so young to be valued by Principal Gu, how could he not be young and promising? Too promising. Let's not stand on ceremony here. Shall we go to the guest room? Or have you eaten? Lin Ge said. Brother Crocodile, order whatever you want. You're Fei Fan's teacher, so you're also our teacher. We must treat you well. Yuan saw that they were so polite and was not used to it. No, no, no. Since you're here, I should be the one giving you a welcome dinner. This is an old rule in Huaxia. How can I let you spend money? It's mine, it's all mine. Yes, it's all on my master. He's familiar with this place, and he has more influence than you. You can eat the best dishes made by the most authentic chefs in any restaurant you go to. Bufifin said, Since we're already here, I have to ask my master to treat me. Otherwise, you'll be looking down on him. Yuan was very satisfied when he heard this. Bufifin continued, Why don't we go eat the freshest seafood here? The old restaurant was here during World War II. I'm sure you'll remember it for a long time. Yuan was stunned. That was one of the most expensive places to eat seafood in Hawaii. This little B** starred. Everyone else cheated their father, but this little B** starred cheated his master. You can arrange anything. I'll pay the bill. Su Yun, of course, would not let him pay for it. Hearing that Su Yun was so generous, Yuan felt that it was good to be friends with a straightforward person. He said, If you're paying, then I won't go. Didn't Fifin say that if you don't let me treat you here, you'll be looking down on me? Deal. Brother Crocodile, you're a straightforward person. Su Yun said. Yuan was willing to be cheated for this meal. After eating and drinking, Su Yun finally brought up the important matter. Fifin, I feel that Brother Crocodile and I hit it off very well. I'm definitely going to be friends with him. Brother Su Yun, if you don't want to be friends with me, I won't be happy. Yuan and Su Yun hit it off at first sight. I've never seen such a straightforward person like you. In the future, your business is my business. Your son is my son. If there's anything, just tell me. Bufifin added fuel to the fire. Master. Then should I call you master or dad in the future? Of course you should call me dad. Yuan was stunned. No, you should call me master. Otherwise, if others know about it, they will think that our relationship is really abnormal. If you have any good things, others will mistakenly think that I am giving you special treatment. No matter what I call you, you're still my dad in my heart, Bufifin said. A teacher for a day, a father for life. Suyin said. You should treat master as your father in your heart. Yuan gave a thumbs up. Brother, well said. Brother Crocodile, I'll leave Fifin in your care. Suyin said. Whether he can become a talent in the future depends on your training. Don't worry about this. I've always liked this kid. Now that he's like you, I'll treat him like my own son in the future. Yuan wasn't lying. Brother Suyin, you came here for an important matter. We've wasted a lot of time. If there's anything, just say it. Don't be polite with me. Suyin laughed dryly. I've mentioned this before. Brother Crocodile must have thought that I was joking. Yuan was stunned. Brother, you're not really looking for a person in the Pacific Ocean, are you? That's not impossible, but it's like looking for a needle in the sea. Think about how big the Pacific Ocean is. Comparing a person to the Pacific Ocean, it's not too much to compare it to a needle, right? Suyin shook his head. It's not too much, but I still want to look. Brother, I know you must have your reasons for doing this, Yuan said. So, I'll be frank with you. I'll definitely help you unconditionally. But you have to give me some meaningful clues. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to help. Bufifin quickly said, Yes, Dad. If you have any clues, you must tell my master. He's a man of his word. He'll definitely do his best. Brother Crocodile, I only have one clue, Suyin said. The person I'm looking for came to the Pacific Ocean to find an island. I don't know the coordinates of the island, and I don't know if my friend has found it. So, it's quite troublesome. Yuan was stunned. Then he laughed. Brother, you've found the right person. As long as you tell me what island it is, I'll settle it for you. Although there are more than 20,000 islands in the Pacific Ocean, it's impossible for me to know all of them. But if I say that I've been to a quarter of them, would you believe me? Yuan wasn't bragging. Although a quarter didn't seem like a lot, the quarter that he had been to were all famous. He believed that the island that Suyun's friend was looking for couldn't escape from the quarter that he had been to. Therefore, Yuan's confidence wasn't baseless. He had the ability to do so. See, Dad, you found the right person. Bufifin raised his eyebrows proudly. What island? Tell me quickly. Chapter 1596. Marty Franz Island. When Suyin said these words, Yuan, who was mentally prepared, was still stunned on the spot. He pointed at his ears embarrassedly, and looked at Suyin with a questioning face. His meaning was very clear. He was asking Suyin, Is there something wrong with my ears? Did I hear wrongly? Suyin knew that as an instructor of the Hunter Academy, it was impossible for Yuan not to have heard of Marty Franz Island. So he was surprised. Suyin was not surprised at all. If he acted like nothing had happened, it would be strange. Marty Franz Island. Bufifin thought Yuan didn't hear him clearly, so he repeated it twice in his ear. My dad said Marty Franz Island. Master, you must know this place, right? Obviously, Bufifin was the only one present who didn't know what Marty Franz Island was, so he was the only one who could be excited. Everyone else's mood couldn't help but become heavy because of the name of the island. Yuan didn't answer. He looked at Suyin with distrust. Brother, you didn't remember the wrong place, did you? Marty Franz Island. If anyone wants to find that place, wouldn't this place be difficult to use? Is it water? As he said this, Yuan pointed at his own head. That's right, unless there was water in his head, he wouldn't take the initiative to find Marty Franz Island. The outside world was so wonderful. Only a lunatic would want to go to a place of no return and live a dark life. Because it was Suyin who wanted to find Marty Franz Island, Yuan's words were unintentionally saying that Su Yun's brain was water in his head. Su Yun's brain was sick. So Lin Ge wanted to explain, but Su Yun signaled him not to say anything. Yuan could see the two's eye contact. Brother Su Yun here, I treat you as a friend. Let's not beat around the bush. What kind of place is Marty Franz Island? I'm sure you know the purpose of its existence since you know the name. Su Yun nodded and agreed with Yuan's words. Since you know everything, it's easier for me to say this. Yuan said, because I also know what kind of place it is, and I also know the purpose of that place in this world. You said your friend was going to find that place. Then, how long has he been looking for it? There's no news at all? I can only pray that he's in a shipwreck, then there's still hope. The other possibility is that they found the place and lost contact with you. That's perfectly normal. Bu Fifan didn't understand the situation. He tugged at Yuan and said, Master, what are you talking about? How can you hope that something bad will happen to someone? What do you know? Shut your mouth and go play somewhere else. Yuan said, Darren is talking, don't interrupt. Bu Fifan could only sit aside and listen helplessly. Brother Crocodile, you don't understand the specific situation. Lin Ge finally couldn't hold back and wanted to explain. It's us who want to find this place, so our friend wants to help. And, even if she finds the place, she won't act rashly, so she won't be involved. Yuan had a headache. He didn't know how to explain. Brother, regardless of whether your friend will act rashly or not, do you think it's so easy to get close to Marty Franz Island? Won't she be involved? If she accidentally gets close to Marty Franz Island, she will be involved without knowing it. It can't be that bad. Lin Ge shook his head in disbelief. Yuan smiled bitterly. People who had heard the true story of Marty Franz Island wouldn't have such a disapproving expression. He knew very well that although Lin Ge knew about Marty Franz Island and the horror of Marty Franz Island, he didn't really understand the horror. Marty Franz Island is one of the most beautiful islands on Earth. Yuan said lightly. It has the most beautiful sea in the world. Sitting on a boat there is like floating, so Marty Franz Island is also known as the island in the sky. Of course, the island in the sky has another meaning, which is to tell everyone that it's a place that can't be touched. Bu Fifan really felt that it was a little unbelievable. Was there such a place in the world? Everyone knew how serious the pollution on Earth was. How could such a place exist? If it was 50 years ago, Bu Fifan would have believed it. Of course at that time he had no idea. But now Bu Fifan really didn't believe it. Master, the place you described is so beautiful, I can't help but want to go. Bu Fifan laughed dryly. If there was such a paradise on Earth, then those who didn't want to go would be stupid. Yuan snorted. I haven't finished yet. Although Marty Franz Island has the most beautiful sea, it's also the most dangerous volcanic island in the world. While we're talking, I'm afraid the 3 active volcanoes on the island have already erupted one by one. There must be a reason why such a beautiful place is isolated from the rest of the world. And why people don't even fly over it. It's a forbidden place that can't be touched. Its danger is far greater than its beauty. Master, now that you mention it, it reminds me of pufferfish. Although it tastes delicious, it's highly poisonous. But even so, there are still people who risk their lives to eat it. Bu Fifan said, maybe such a beautiful place is really worth visiting, no matter how dangerous it is. Yuan directly slapped Bu Fifan's thoughts. But why don't you think about what kind of people eat pufferfish? 9 out of 10 people who eat pufferfish are idiots from Japan. Normal people know which is more important, their mouths or their lives. There are so many delicious things in the world. Only idiots would risk their lives for a mouthful of fish. Idiots from Japan are idiots. Are you idiots too? After being scolded by Yuan, Bu Fifan obediently lowered his head and admitted his mistake. Of course, he didn't want to be compared to idiots from Japan. When Yuan was describing Marty Franz Island, Su Yun listened very seriously. He was racking his brains to think about which part of the sea had such an island with 3 active volcanoes. And there were no flight routes over that part of the sea. Although Yuan didn't seem to say anything, he really narrowed down a very big range for Su Yun. Brother Crocodile, have you been to that place? Su Yun suddenly asked. Yuan was stunned. Didn't I say that only idiots from Japan would eat pufferfish without caring about their lives? I'm not an idiot from Japan. Marty Franz Island is beautiful, but the danger is more frightening than the beauty. Su-yin took a deep breath. This obviously wasn't a joke. Iyuan was very serious and didn't seem to be joking at all. I don't know what you guys are thinking. Why do you have to go to that place? Iyuan said. Brother Su-yin, I can only tell you that your friend is probably doomed. Of course, if you ask me to help you find her, I will definitely help you. If you have any requests, you can ask me for help. It's just that. I can't promise you anything. I know what you mean. Su-yin smiled. No matter what, I'm really grateful that you told me all this. It's good that you understand, Iyuan said. Su-yin was silent for a while. It's just that my friend is a little special, so I think she might be lucky. Iyuan was stunned. He didn't understand what Su-yin meant. A little special? She should be the last member of the Shadow Clan in this world, Su-yin said lightly. Iyuan was even more surprised when he heard this than when he heard about Marty Franz Island. Shadow Clan? What kind of joke was this? Wasn't the Shadow Clan exterminated long ago? How could they still exist? Moreover, even if Su-yin wasn't joking and the Shadow Clan really existed, it was already impossible for him to find one person in the vast Pacific Ocean, let alone a Shadow Clan member? Wasn't that even more impossible? Not to mention the Pacific Ocean. Even on a small island of 10 square kilometers, if a Shadow Clan member didn't want you to find them, you would never be able to find them in your lifetime. Chapter 1597. Iyuan didn't dare to believe Su-yun's words. It wasn't that he didn't trust him, but that he really couldn't accept this fact. It had to be known that the extinction of the shadow race was a major event in this world. Moreover, this event happened a long time ago. During the chaotic years of the world's ancient wars, the shadow race was completely exterminated. This was because at that time, the shadow race was the epitome of despicable. They could sell themselves to any country's spy system for a high price. They used their bloodline's inexplicable ability to hide in various countries, constantly stealing all kinds of secrets. It was because of the Shadow Tribe that so many disastrous events had occurred. These events had dealt a heavy blow to the human race. Therefore, every country began to sign the same agreement. All Shadow Race people were expelled. As long as they caught a Shadow Race person, they would be exterminated, not leaving a single one alive. If a country violated this agreement, all the other countries would launch an attack on them. This was just like how no one wanted to be beaten up by a group. No country wanted to become the enemy of all other countries. No one dared to violate this agreement, so all the Shadow Race people were killed. When the Shadow Race people realized that they and their clansmen were being killed, they began to flee for their lives. Western Europe's Shadow Race people ran to Eastern Europe, South America's Shadow Race people ran to North America, and Central Asia's Shadow Race people ran to South Asia. But in the end, their endings were the same. No matter which country they went to for help, they would all be mercilessly slaughtered by that country. This was the tragedy of the Shadow Race's extinction. It was truly tragic. Whether it was the old, the weak, the sick, or a baby, they were all unconditionally sentenced to death. In other words, whether or not the Shadow Race people participated in the espionage activities, they would all be killed. This slaughter lasted for 3 years. No Shadow Race people were lucky enough to escape. They were all killed. This was because the existence of the Shadow Race people was unfair to the espionage activities of the various countries. Therefore, for the sake of fairness, not a single Shadow Race person was left alive. Was this really the Shadow Race? It wasn't like this. There were too many things in this world that wouldn't happen if it was fair. Did the espionage activities stop after the Shadow Race people died? It still didn't stop. There were still all kinds of espionage organizations, and spies still caused many large-scale disasters in the world. Each world war was more severe than the last. The test of humanity was becoming more and more terrifying. In truth, the destructive disaster did not lie with the Shadow Tribe but with all of humanity. As for the death of the Shadow Tribesmen, that was only a sacrifice. It was only a substitute. Even after all the Shadow Tribe members had been killed, the human massacre still continued. This was a very sad thing. The Shadow Tribe wasn't wrong. They just did the wrong thing at the wrong time. Mistakes belong to everyone, and all humans make mistakes. This was a very tragic story. For hundreds of years, no one had mentioned the shadow race. Now most people in the world didn't even remember the existence of the shadow race. Perhaps humans wanted to quietly cover up their mistakes, so they kept quiet and let the world slowly forget about them. Today, when Su Yun suddenly mentioned the Shadow Tribe, Yuan was really surprised and flabbergasted. He also felt guilty for the mistake his ancestor had made. But then again, finding a Shadow Clansman was far too difficult. This wasn't an era where Shadow Clansmen would willingly walk into a trap. If there were still Shadow Clansmen left, Yuan felt that they could only choose to hide in a corner of the world that could never be seen. They absolutely wouldn't appear in front of their fellow humans who had killed them. This meant that even if there were still people from this race that couldn't exist, they wouldn't be discovered by others. After all, the Shadow Tribe was a kind of oddity in the history of human evolution. Of course, the word oddity didn't mean to harm others. They were definitely a race that had an absolute advantage in the history of human evolution. Even the martial cultivators in the world with bodies that surpassed ordinary people wouldn't be able to detect the aura of the Shadow Tribe. The reason they were called the Shadow Tribe was very simple. It was because they were always like a shadow by your side. They followed you every day, but you rarely paid attention to them. How could one find such a person? In addition, what made Yuan feel a bit awkward was that in his view of the world, the Shadow Tribe was definitely extinct. It was just that this matter had been forgotten by history. In human history, the genocides that people remembered more clearly weren't the most painful ones. The Rwandan genocide and the Armenian genocide both killed millions of people. This sounded terrifying enough. The most terrifying massacres happened in the Huaxia continent. During the northern and southern dynasties of Huaxia, the pain of the 5 barbarians' rebellion sounded unimaginable. Tens of millions of people died, right? The history that made one's hair stand on end was truly terrifying. Murong Xianbei plundered the Central Plains and kidnapped tens of thousands of young girls. On the way back, he wantonly indulged in debauchery. At the same time, he used these young girls as rations and cooked them. There were also records that the Jia tribe's army didn't carry rations. They only kidnapped Han women as rations. The Jia tribe called them two-legged sheep, which meant that they walked on 2 legs like sheep. At night, they were used for the soldiers' debauchery, and during the day, they were slaughtered and cooked. Under the Jia tribe's Jiazhao regime, the Han people who had once established the Great Qin and Great Han dynasties were on the verge of extinction. This was a bloody lesson. In reality, extinction wasn't impossible. Even the Han people, the largest human race in the world, had almost been wiped out. Of course, the Han people were indeed very pitiful. This wasn't the first time that the Han people had been massacred. Everyone could casually talk about the Qing dynasty's massacre. 10 days in Yangzhou, 3 massacres in Jiading, massacre in Suzhou, massacre in Nanchang, massacre in Guangzhou, massacre in Jiangyin, massacre in Jinan, massacre in Chaozhou, massacre in Yuanjiang. No one dared to continue. The massacre that the Shadow Tribe faced at that time was the same as what happened to the Han people after the Qing dynasty invaded. No matter where they went, they would be massacred. Of course, the most unprecedented massacre in history was the Mongol Empire's massacre. 30 to 40 million people in Huaxia died from the massacre. Including Central Asia, West Asia, and Eastern Europe, around 200 million people died. Kublai massacred 18 million people in Huaxia. 90% of the Han people in the northern part of Huaxia were killed. Of course, no one wanted to talk about these things of the past. No matter how they were killed, these people were still alive. When the Mongol Empire was preparing to exterminate the Zhang, Wang, Lu, Li Zhao and Han families, it was said that the Red Scarf Army's sudden attack prevented this genocide. The Han people had faced so many disasters in history, but they still persevered. When the Han people appeared in the world, they had a unique stability in the history of the world. They had a rare cohesion and attraction, and they started the most magnificent development of the world's ethnic history. How could the Shadow Tribe be compared to the Han people? The Shadow Tribe didn't have the cohesion of the Han people, so after they were exterminated, They were just exterminated. They didn't have the attitude of being able to rise again when the spring wind blew. This wonderful race in human history was gone just like that. Was it the Shadow Tribe's loss? Or was it the loss of the entire human race? There was no need to talk about it. Of course, it was the loss of the entire human race. Humans had done too many stupid things, but their merits always outweighed their faults. The Shadow Tribe, this race that hadn't been mentioned in a long time, was suddenly brought up today. How could it not agitate Yuan? If it was really the last Shadow Tribe, then wouldn't everyone have the duty to protect it? Perhaps they should, right? Chapter 1598. Yuan thought a lot, but in the end he chose to believe Su Yun. Su Yun's honesty made Yuan unable to refuse. But there was a problem that Yuan had to understand. How could a shadow race person be friends with them? This kind of historical hatred was not something normal people could accept. I don't want to pry into your privacy, but I have to understand. How could a shadow race person be friends with you? Yuan looked at Su Yun and asked seriously, could it be that shadow race person's lifestyle is the same as ours? Of course it's different. She has her own lifestyle. Su Yun said. It's just that I won't disturb her lifestyle. At the same time, I won't look at her through biased glasses. I will still treat her as a normal person. That's why she's willing to be friends with me. Yuan nodded and muttered to himself. The last shadow race person. I know. You're going to ask me how I know she's the last shadow race person, right? Su Yun said lightly, a long time ago, humans exterminated the shadow race. I don't think I need to tell you, but you should know. But if you want to rely on a pair of butchers to completely exterminate a race, it's not that easy. Only a natural disaster can make a race go extinct. He paused. Su Yun continued. To make a race go extinct, it's only possible if the climate suddenly changes and the temperature drops, causing the oxygen in the atmosphere to drop, making it impossible for them to survive. Or if an asteroid hits the Earth and sends it back to ancient times. Otherwise, if you rely on exterminating a race, there will always be some left behind. You mean, back then not all of the shadow race people were? Yuan opened his mouth wide in shock. Su Yun nodded. Phantom had told him about this before, so he was clear about it. At that time, the Shadow Tribe was indeed hunted down in large numbers, but a portion of them still managed to escape. These people all fled back to the origin of the Shadow Tribe, Life Island. Of course, this is what they call it. Life Island is a very mysterious place in the South Pole. It's a place that humans can hardly reach. I've heard of Life Island, but isn't that place already? Yuan's eyes widened. That's right. 10 years ago, Life Island disappeared. Su Yun said. It was at that time that the Shadow Clan was truly exterminated. At that time, there were more than 28,000 Shadow Clan members on Life Island. Only one person was lucky enough to escape, and that was Phantom, whom the Shadow Clan had placed their hopes on. You're saying Phantom is from the Shadow Clan? No wonder. Yuan came to a sudden realization. 10 years ago, a person had appeared out of nowhere in the world. She called herself the Phantom. In just 3 to 4 years, she had easily taken the heads of 32 illegal terrorist organizations in the world, shocking the world in one fell swoop. But in the past 6 years, Phantom had completely disappeared. There were so many organizations all over the world trying to find her, but they couldn't find her. So she was actually from the Shadow Clan. No wonder. Yuan could not believe that the friend Su Yun was talking about was Phantom. You want me to help you find Phantom? Yuan said. Brother, you think too highly of me. Why don't you think about it? After so many years, how many people wanted to find her? Ever since she killed the leader of the Biwaka armed crime syndicate, her name shocked the world. Whether it was government officials or bandits, no one didn't want to take her under their command. But they couldn't find her. Especially Boog's armed forces. In order to find Phantom, they spared no expense. But what was the result? Not only did they not find Phantom, Boog himself was killed by Phantom. From then on, these armed organizations that had nothing to do with justice died in Phantom's hands, but no one was able to catch her. Su Yun nodded. What he said was true, but Phantom had still almost fallen. Otherwise, she wouldn't have chosen to work for a mafia syndicate leader while hiding her identity. She also wouldn't have known Su Yun. So, you should understand what I mean. I will do my best to help you, but I really don't have the slightest bit of confidence. Yuan said. I have worked for the principal for so many years, and there has never been a mission that made me feel unconfident. But today, Brother Su, this favor that you want me to help you with is really difficult. Master, if this favor wasn't difficult, my father wouldn't have asked for it. Bu Fifan suddenly said. Really, I know Su Yun better than you do. Huh? Su Yun smiled bitterly. Yes, if it wasn't for the fact that he had no other choice, he wouldn't have come here to disturb Bu Fifan. Yuan nodded. I understand. This matter is definitely not that simple, and I know it in my heart. How about this? I won't say much. I will give you something. Take this, and all the islands you pass by in the Pacific Ocean, whether they are private or public, will allow you to enter the islands. Even the islands of the Sharks Syndicate can be entered. Bu Fifan was stunned. Are you stupid? Yuan glared at Bu Fifan and continued to talk to Su Yun. But in the Pacific Ocean, there are two forces that will not entertain you. One is the Sharks Syndicate, and the other is the Beluga Syndicate. These two syndicates are pirate organizations that have been rooted in the Pacific Ocean for many years. Using a poem to describe it. The wildfire cannot burn, the sea breeze blows and rises again. For so many years our principal has been trying to completely destroy them, but to no avail. A crafty rabbit has 3 burrows. There is no other way. Su Yun nodded. These motley crew, although they are not that dangerous, they are not to be trifled with, Yuan said. If you encounter an island that they have taken over, I'm afraid they won't invite you to enter the island. As for whether or not they will give you any trouble, I think it shouldn't be too difficult for you to deal with them. I've been fighting this kind of motley crew since I was young. Don't worry, their little tricks are completely useless against me. Lin Gu patted his chest and said. He had dealt with many islands since he was young. Even now, if he were to stand in the Caribbean Sea, no pirate group would dare to touch a single hair on his head. Yuan nodded. Then I can rest assured. They are indeed very cunning, and sometimes very good at disguising themselves. So, you must be careful and be on your guard. Thank you. Su Yun took an inconspicuous circular wooden plate from Yuan. It was hand-carved from mahogany and looked very delicate. This is. You have this, which means you are related to our hunter school. Yuan said. This way, the islanders who have received our grace and protection will welcome you warmly. Of course, the downside is that if the other party is from the Sharks or Beluga Whale clan, they will definitely think of ways to harm you. Su Yun nodded. This thing was really a double-edged sword. I will give you this. As for whether you use it or not and how you use it, that is up to you. Yuan said. I'll have all my connections pay attention to the people you're looking for. If there's any abnormality that makes me think that it might be the shadow race, I'll inform you immediately. With Brother Crocodile's words, I am really relieved. Su Yun said. I am really sorry for causing you so much trouble. This is nothing. Compared to educating this kid, this is a small matter. It is not troublesome at all. Yuan said. It is troublesome to cultivate this kid into a talent. Haha. The few of them were amused. Only Bu Fifan did not laugh. He muttered to himself unhappily. Yes, I don't have talent. But let me tell you, talent is only an advantage. It can't represent your whole life. For me, using hard work to make up for it can represent my life. With this awareness, he was not far from becoming a talent. Su Yun was glad that he did not stop Bu Fifan. He patted Bu Fifan's shoulder heavily to let him know that since he had chosen this path, the burden on his shoulders would be heavy. Su Yun did not only want Bu Fifan to become a bounty hunter, who hunted wanted criminals for a living. He wanted his goal to be bigger. Chapter 1599. The trip to Hawaii was a secret operation of Su Yun and Lin Gu. They didn't tell anyone. Of course, this was Su Yun's request. Since he was by his side, Lin Gu didn't mind and agreed to Su Yun's request. Lin Gu and Su Yun were the same. They didn't want others to worry about them. However, even so, their excuse wasn't perfect. Soo-yin announced to the public that he was going to visit a few famous Hollywood special effects production teams in private. He wanted to make friends with them in private, so that he could learn their advanced technology. This excuse could indeed fool Ruan Qingshuang and Bai Xiaoye. Needless to say, the others didn't. No one doubted that Soo-yin would do this because he was very determined to change his investment in high-tech movies. Even a few artists who tried to cause trouble were directly banned, not giving them a chance. After all, artists were artists. They took Sky Entertainment's money and did Sky Entertainment's business. Therefore, even if they struggled and came up with something, they could only pay and terminate their contract. There was no way for them to escape unscathed. This was for those who were capable. If they weren't, they would be directly banned and their career would be completely ruined. No matter how influential a person was, if they were banned, they would be forgotten in a short period of time. For example, after teacher Chen Paisai performed Eat Noodles on the 1984 Spring Festival Gala, everyone looked forward to his skit every year. But after he was banned, teacher Zhao Binsen appeared again. It wasn't until 1999's Yesterday, Today, Tomorrow that he became the skit that everyone looked forward to every Spring Festival Gala. Later on, selling crutches reached its peak. Therefore, Soo-yin only needed to use a little of the artist's thoughts to win over everyone. No one wanted to be like teacher Chen, who had been blacklisted. They all wanted to be like teacher Zhao, who had left everyone behind and become a dark horse after Sky Entertainment's transformation. Therefore, Soo-yin killed one as a warning to the others. He directly banned a few big names who took the lead, and this matter was easily solved. Sometimes people needed to have some tricks. If they didn't have some tricks, it would be difficult to convince the public, especially if they were obedient. That was even more impossible. Although Soo-yin was soft-hearted and didn't want to ruin someone's future because of some of his decisions, for the sake of the greater good, Soo-yin could only do this. Reality proved that this was absolutely correct. Everything in Sky Entertainment became normal and positive. No one came out to cause trouble again. Therefore, Soo-yin's reason to visit a famous Hollywood special effects production team was very good. Only one person knew that this reason was really bad. That was Zhuo Meiyan, who had just finished dealing with the outside world. When Zhuo Meiyan heard this from Ruan Qingshuang, she calmly nodded and didn't say anything. After Ruan Qingshuang left, Zhuo Yeming asked in surprise, "Wow, my brother-in-law is quite capable. He went to visit just like that. His connections are quite strong. Could it be that Matthew contacted some big name in Los Angeles for him?" "You really believed it?" Zhuo Meiyan said indifferently. Zhuo Yeming was stunned. "Why wouldn't I believe it? Could it be that he's tricking people? Could it be that it's fake?" "Of course it's fake," Zhuo Meiyan said. "Those famous Hollywood special effects production teams are so busy that they can't even tell their socks from their pants. How could they have the time to meet him? How many times have I tried to make an appointment with them? When did they have the time?" Peter Jackson's Weta Studio and Lucas Industrial Light and Magic, these famous special effects production teams have to do post-production for many American films. I had to bring Sky Entertainment's name and use so many connections to get an appointment. He said he wanted to see them and they went. Do you really believe that? If it was someone else, I wouldn't believe it. But with my brother-in-law's skills, it's hard to say. Zhuo Yeming nodded. Forget it. I'm telling you, if Soo-yin really did make an appointment with a famous special effects production team, he definitely wouldn't bring Lin Gu, who doesn't know anything about special effects, Zhuo Meiyan said. He himself doesn't know anything about special effects. If he brings someone who doesn't know anything about special effects, what can the two of them do? It's like they're illiterate. Zhuo Yeming rubbed his chin. That made sense. Use your brain. If he really did what he said, he would have called me immediately. He would have asked me to introduce him to the best special effects production team I know in the country. He would have brought someone who knows about special effects. Zhuo Meiyan said. Soo-yin doesn't know how to do business, but that doesn't mean he's stupid. Sis, you mean that he didn't do what he said he would do? It's just an excuse. Then, where do you think he went? What did he do? Zhuo Yeming asked in surprise. If I knew where he was going and what he was going to do, Would I still be talking to you? Zhuo Meiyan was speechless. Of course I don't know what he's going to do. But what I'm sure of is that he definitely wouldn't visit a famous special effects production team in Hollywood. Even if he wanted to, they wouldn't have the time to entertain him. Zhuo Yeming nodded. His sister's words made sense. Then why didn't you expose Sis Shuang when she said that? Sis, do you have any selfish motives? Didn't I say that you have to compete fairly with my brother-in-law? What selfish motives can I have? I'm doing it for her own good. If she knows, she'll only be more worried. It's better if she doesn't know anything. I even hope that Su Yin can come up with a good lie and make me believe it. That way, I won't have to worry anymore. Zhuo Meiyan's words were true. If Ruan Qingshuang knew about it, she would definitely be like her now, blindly wondering what Su Yin was doing. This kind of thinking might not seem like a big deal, but it could really consume a lot of energy. It was like a new parent. Although it seemed like they were doing the same thing every day, their work efficiency was definitely not the same as before. This was because most of their energy would be unconsciously placed on worry and concern. Even if they were just a door away from the little baby, they would still be worried and concerned from time to time. This was the nature of any animal. You're worried? Isn't that obvious? Zhuo Meiyan said. It's not like you didn't hear about the things that happened a while ago. We all know the current situation. Who knew that one day, he would suddenly lose his mind and go to the Pacific Ocean to find some Marty Franz Island felon prison? Wouldn't that be hopeless? Zhuo Yeming was stunned. He stared at Zhuo Meiyan without saying a word. Zhuo Meiyan was confused. Why are you staring at me? What? Did I say something wrong? Zhuo Yeming shook his head vigorously. Then why are you staring at me? Sister, do you think that my brother-in-law's brain has suddenly lost its nerve? Zhuo Yeming said blankly. What if he has already gone to the Pacific Ocean? What if he has already gone to that Marty Franz Island? Then wouldn't that be the end of everything? Zhuo Meiyan's jaw dropped. No way. It can't be that sudden, right? Sister, you definitely know his way of doing things better than I do. Zhuo Yeming said. What are the possibilities? You calculate. How do I calculate? Let me calculate. Zhuo Meiyan's heart jumped when she heard Zhuo Yeming's words. What if Su Yin had really lost his mind? Wouldn't that mean that everything was over? Wouldn't that mean that everything was destined to? Phew, no, that definitely couldn't happen. Zhuo Meiyan forced herself to calm down. Su Yin isn't such an impulsive person. Don't talk nonsense to me. Don't think too much about it. Also, don't talk nonsense when you go out. Right now, everyone in Sky Entertainment knows that President Su went to meet the special effects team in Hollywood. If your stinky mouth finds out, then we'll be in trouble. Do you understand? Of course I understand. I'm not that stupid. Zhuo Yeming promised. Only the heavens, the earth, you and I know about this. No one else knows about it, including Sister Shuang. She definitely won't know. Zhuo Meiyan rolled her eyes. That's more like it. Chapter 1600. This might be the only thing Zhuo Meiyan could do for Su Yin. She could take care of his affairs, so that he wouldn't waste his energy worrying about the people here. Therefore, Zhuo Meiyan wouldn't tell anyone that Su Yin had lied, but she couldn't make herself look like nothing had happened. After all, Su Yin had gone to find Marty Franz Island. Zhuo Meiyan obviously didn't believe that Su Yin could find that place, so she wasn't overly worried. However, nothing was absolute in this world. Who could be sure that Su Yin couldn't find Marty Franz Island? What if he found it? What should she do? It would be too late to react then. This was what Zhuo Meiyan was worried about. Things that she couldn't predict would make her feel even more uneasy. Who knew what Su Yin would do? The only thing Zhuo Meiyan could do was to hide it. Su Yin, who was far away in Hawaii, sneezed twice in a row. He wondered who was scolding him again. The climate and environment here were so comfortable. There was no smell of exhaust fumes. It was impossible to irritate people's nasal cavities. Someone must be scolding him behind his back. Brother, are we really going to carry out the needle in a haystack plan next? Linga said. Isn't this a little? I don't have much confidence after hearing what Crocodile said just now. Brother, I'm just telling the truth. Don't blame me for putting myself down. It's really difficult. Yuan had already left with Bufifan. Although he had asked the principal for permission, he still couldn't let Bufifan stay outside for too long. An ascetic life required an ascetic state. If Bufifan could come out and slack off every now and then, there were so many temptations in Hawaii. Once Bufifan lost his mind, the child's future would be ruined. Yuan carefully arranged and planned every step of Bufifan's cultivation. He would never give him a chance to go astray. Regarding this point, Su Yin was quite assured. This was what it meant to be reliable. It was Bufifan's luck to have Yuan as his master. Su Yin held the mahogany token Yuan gave him, and waved it in front of Lin Ge. Since they've lent us such an important thing, we'll have to rely on ourselves for the rest. Just the two of us? Lin Ge smiled bitterly. Okay, brother. I'll do whatever you say. Even if you want me to search the Pacific Ocean alone, I'll do it. Perhaps it can only be the two of us, Su Yin said. Where are we going to find a third person who can sense the presence of phantom? And crocodiles the greatest. You might not have heard of it, but there are so many islands in the Pacific Ocean, and they all have different rules. If you rashly land on an island, you might anger the natives there. Although Yuan and Fei Fan brought us a boat and fuel, once we start looking for people, we will need supplies. If we offend the natives on the island, where will we get supplies? You can't buy it even if you have the money. This was the truth. Food problems, water problems, fuel problems, and all sorts of other problems needed to be solved by going to the island. Therefore, the token that Yuan gave them was very useful. It could be said that without this token, Su Yin and Lin Ge would not be able to move around in the Pacific Ocean. Unless they treated themselves as bandits and forcibly went to the island to steal supplies, regardless of whether the people on the island were willing or not. If that happened, they would be no different from the Sharks and Beluga Whale clan. They would become two bastards. Take good care of this thing. Su Yin waved the mahogany card in her hand. Let's treat this trip to Hawaii as a casual trip. Just treat it as a relaxing trip. Lin Ge chuckled. How could they relax? He remembered clearly that the mahogany token was a double-edged sword. It could make the people from the Welcome Hunter School welcome them as guests. At the same time, it could also make the enemies who were always at odds with them come looking for trouble. The Hunter School's hunting island was located in the area with the most disputes. They had been fighting against the pirates for many years. Perhaps the mahogany badge was also a thorn in the eyes of the illegal armed gangs on the sea. Su Yin chuckled helplessly. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. That was indeed the case. When Su Yin and Lin Ge just left Hawaii, they were already being watched. The two shifty-eyed fellows had been whispering around them. When Su Yin and the others got on the waterway, the two shifty-eyed fellows immediately started contacting each other. No one knew who they were contacting. Boss, we saw the mahogany token at the Intercontinental Hawaii Hotel. Shifty-eyed said carefully. Rat-eyed immediately added. It's in the hands of two young men in their 20s. They don't look like people we've seen before. Maybe they're newcomers that old fart invited. Shifty-eyed interrupted again. Boss, what do you think we should do? The other end of the phone was silent for a while. Finally, the person said, Did you see it clearly? Newcomers? Young men? And they have the mahogany token of that old fart? Did sand get into their eyes? Are they wearing glasses? You can't talk about this. You know the consequences. Of course we know. Shifty-eyed said, Boss, I swear I didn't see wrongly. They're definitely newcomers that Goofart invited, and their ranks aren't low. Nonsense. The person on the other end of the phone cursed. Of course, people who had the mahogany token were of high rank. If this was true, then it was a good opportunity to attack the ancient magpie world. For so many years, the hunter school led by the ancient magpie world had been suppressing them in every possible way. They had suffered enough. This time, they had a chance to catch someone alone and show the ancient magpie world their power. Wouldn't that be great? Now, I order the two of you to keep a close eye on them. I'll arrange this immediately. Let me tell you, if you're wrong and that's not the mahogany token, then I'll eat the two of you tonight. The voice on the other end of the phone was very intimidating. Shifty-eyed and Shifty-eyed were scared. But they were still sure that they were not mistaken. The engravings on the mahogany token were very special. If they had seen it once, they would definitely recognize it. However, it was a little difficult for them to keep a close eye on these two people. But since the boss had given the order, they had no choice but to do it obediently. The inland area, or the coastal area's environment, still couldn't be compared to the pure ocean's climate. In the vast Pacific Ocean, Lin Ge was familiarizing himself with the satellite positioning system and operating system in the boat as he slowly sailed into the ocean. Su Yin was also sitting comfortably on the sofa in the cabin. Although the boat wasn't big, it was more than enough for the two of them. If it was on land, it would be a large caravan. In addition to the driver's seat, there were 2 foldable beds, sofas, TV, refrigerator, bathroom. You could think of anything here. Even the wine cabinet was filled with champagne and imported wine. Bufifan's teacher was really generous. Su Yin was sure that Bufifan didn't have the ability to prepare all this, so it must have been Yi Yuan who had prepared it. In fact, Su Yin didn't know that Yi Yuan had prepared all this under Principal Gu's instructions. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gotten such a luxurious small boat. Teacher Crocodile is really generous, Lin Ge said as he studied the boat's operating system. This boat is really advanced. Bufifan's reputation is quite good. Haha, brother, he didn't embarrass you. That kid will definitely have a bright future. Su Yin smiled. It's hard to say if it's because of him. Maybe it's because of Matthew. Oh, brother, are you saying that all these arrangements might have been arranged by the ancient magpie world? Lin Ge said. Su Yin shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. Who knows? Since it's already like this, we'll gladly accept it. No matter who arranged it, we owe the Hunter School a favor. With that, Su Yin waved the mahogany token in his hand. Chapter 1601. The sea route was different from land. It was slow to travel and required precise positioning. Otherwise, one would quickly get lost in the vast ocean, especially in a huge ocean world like the Pacific Ocean. Lin Ge determined most of the main islands in the area through the satellite positioning display system. All they could do was try their luck on each island. Even if Phantom wanted to find Marty Francis Island in the Pacific Ocean, the first transit point she would choose would be Hawaii. Therefore, Su Yin and the others had no better idea. This sounded like the behavior of a lunatic, but they had to do it. Lin Ge was mainly responsible for a simple tour of the nearby waters today. After confirming most of the main islands, he began to choose which island to start the search from. This way they would need to wander around. Once they started to wander around, if they could still detect a boat following them, it would be equivalent to driving in the city. It was already so congested. When you strolled from the small street in the east to the small temple in the west, you would still see the same car behind you. How could you not be suspicious? Brother, I think we're being watched, Lin Ge said lightly. The boat had a 360-degree panoramic camera. The screen inside the boat could see the surrounding environment clearly. Although the small speedboat that was following them had been quite far away from them, it still aroused Lin Ji's suspicion. Su Yin was not surprised. This place is obviously a place of trouble. When we were in Hawaii, we stayed in such a high-end hotel. After leaving, we have such a luxurious yacht. It's not normal that we're not being watched. Don't so many sea bandits rely on this to make a living? It's fine. In fact, Huaxia people would often be hijacked and attacked when they were traveling on the high seas. The reason was very simple. The whole world knew that there were many rich people in Huaxia. They also knew that most of the rich people in Huaxia who could own private yachts in Huaxia had unclean money. Therefore, they didn't dare to say anything when they were robbed, nor did they dare to report it to their own country. If they reported it, Huaxia would definitely protect them and help them seek justice. However, if these people's assets were checked, they could only cry. Therefore, these people were often the fattest piece of meat in the eyes of the pirates on the sea. Su Yin and Lin Ge were both Chinese, so it wasn't strange for them to be targeted. Su Yin was still quite open-minded. If the Pacific Ocean was compared to the rest of the world, it was equivalent to public land. Since it was public land, there was no distinction between private land and private land. There was no such thing as snatching or taking from others. Whoever had the ability could take advantage of others. It was that simple. If they really do provoke us, they're really lucky, Linge said. At most, they'll be taken away and thrown into the sea. They won't be killed directly. Even if he died, he deserved it. Su Yun said. Since ancient times, these people who rely on hijacking sea routes to make a living are all extremely vicious people. Not all pirates can make great contributions to science like William Dampier. Most of them are full of evil. During the reign of Emperor Hongwu of the Ming Dynasty, Chen Zui had occupied Malacca for more than 10 years and established the world's largest pirate group. At its peak, it had more than 10,000 members and nearly 100 warships. It had plundered more than 10,000 ships and captured more than 50 coastal towns. Some countries in Southeast Asia even paid tribute to it. If it wasn't for Zheng He, who saw through his conspiracy, he might have directly established Indonesia as an island kingdom. Lin Gu said, the crocodile gang and the beluga gang here shouldn't be as large as the pirate king Chen Zui, right? It's impossible, Su Yin. Back then it wasn't like now. It's impossible for such a large force to exist now. The world government wouldn't allow it. However, although these forces aren't that large, they aren't necessarily weak. To be able to take root here, and not be completely destroyed by the ancient magpie world after so many years, it can only mean that they do have a certain level of strength and ability. Are we being targeted by them? Lin Gu smiled. Su Yun nodded. It's possible. With that said, Su Yun took out the mahogany token and looked at it. If they were being targeted by this token, it was either because they mistook them for rich tycoons from Huaxia or because of this small token. Brother, is there a problem with this thing? I'm afraid that this thing really represents an extraordinary identity. Su Yun. Crocodile is too kind. If I knew that this thing was so valuable, I wouldn't have accepted it. If you don't accept it, how are you going to deal with the problem of our supplies every time? Lin Gu grinned. Only good things should be taken. Su Yun put away the mahogany token. I'm just afraid that this good thing will bring us too much trouble. If Buddha blocks us, we'll kill Buddha. If God blocks us, we'll kill God. If soldiers come, we'll block them. If water comes, we'll use earth to block it. Lin Gu said. It's just a few pirates, a piece of cake. Lin Gu basically understood the general situation of the sea as he spoke. Brother, I'm afraid that there's no Mardi Franz Island nearby. Most of the nearby islands are inhabited. I believe that the prison won't be in such a crowded place. Then let's go, Su Yun. Phantom should be able to think of this too. She won't waste time. The ship had enough fuel, and there was also a lot of spare fuel, so there was no need to replenish it at all. There was no shortage of food or water. They continued to search the sea for the next 2 days. This made the two shifty-eyed brothers suffer. The two of them chased the ship all the way, but the other party didn't stop the ship. It wasn't until the ship ran out of fuel that the two of them were dumbfounded. It wasn't that they didn't do their best, but that the other party was too good at running. Seeing that the sky was darkening, Su Yun also realized that they should find a place to land. It was still very dangerous to spend the night at sea. If there were strong winds and waves, there was no need to take this risk. Soon, the two of them came to an island that was convenient for stopping the ship. When the two of them approached the island, 4 or 5 people appeared in the coastal waters, staring at the uninvited guests intently. After Su Yun and Lin Gu got off the ship, they were immediately surrounded. These people didn't look like aborigines, so Su Yun tried to communicate with them in English. When he found that he could communicate, he was relieved. We just want to stay for the night. We can pay. Su Yun. If it's convenient, can you take us to a place where we can stay? I'm sorry, guests from afar. We have rules. Outsiders are not allowed to stay on the island at night. The leader of the few people said. I hope you can understand. Su Yun smiled awkwardly. He didn't want to use the mahogany token so soon, but it was really too late now. Look, I have this. Su Yun had no choice but to take out the mahogany token. After seeing the mahogany token, the other party was obviously much more enthusiastic. However, in the end, the other party still told Su Yun that this was a rule that couldn't be broken. Even if they all knew the mahogany token and knew that the owner of the mahogany token must be a friend, They still couldn't agree to Su Yun's request. However, this didn't hinder the enthusiasm of the Aborigines. A lot of delicious food was sent over. It could be said that other than not letting them stay for the night, everything else was given to them. This already made Su Yun and the others feel flattered. In this way, Su Yun was embarrassed to break the other party's rules. He could only think of going to the next island to try his luck. In the darkness, the shifty-eyed people followed them again. They didn't know where they got the fuel in the ship. After seeing all this, they immediately informed their leader and told him the fact that they had the mahogany tokens in their hands. They also conveyed the situation they encountered to the higher-ups. Su Yun and Lin Jiyi's ship sailed away from the shore again. The shifty-eyed people followed them again. This was the order they received. Follow, 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 follow to the end. Chapter 1602. After a few twists and turns, the two of them arrived at another island. This island was much smaller than the previous one, but judging from the smoke rising from the island, there should be a lot of people living on this island. In addition, there was a place to park ships on the periphery of the island, so it should be a very good place to stay. When their ship neared the island, it was quickly surrounded by 4 or 5 people, just like what they encountered before. However, the difference in appearance between these 4 or 5 people was quite big. The shortest one had a mustache, so he looked like a standard Japanese, while the tallest black man was almost as tall as an American professional basketball player. The one who looked slightly more normal was probably a yellow-skinned, black-haired man. Of course, he was obviously not Chinese. He had a standard Korean face, which of course meant that he had a big face before he had plastic surgery. May I ask if we can stay on the island? Su Yun was much smarter this time. If there was a rule that outsiders were not allowed to stay on the island, he didn't need to waste time and didn't need to take out the mahogany order to make things difficult for them. After all, many rules and customs were extraordinary. For example, if Su Yun and Lin Gu went to the island during the day, and the people on the island knew that he had the mahogany order, they would definitely put down their work and hold a banquet for the two of them. However, once the sun went down, they would still send Su Yun and Lin Gu away. No matter who it was, they couldn't break their rules. This was because that was the ancestral rule left behind by the ancestors of the island. Back then, the ancestors of these people had stayed on the island because of a man who claimed to be from the distant east. This Japanese man attracted his accomplices in the middle of the night and killed almost half of the compatriots on the island. That Japanese man looked gentle and refined, but when he did things, he was very cruel and merciless. The purpose of these Japanese people was the non-existent gold mine on the island. The Japanese people had been doing whatever they wanted on the island for half a year, and the people on the island had also dug for them for half a year, but they hadn't seen anything. Not to mention a gold mine, they hadn't even seen a coal mine. Therefore, these Japanese people reluctantly left the island. Although these Japanese people left the island, they left the people on the island with unforgettable pain. Therefore, the ancestors left behind a rule, which was that outsiders were never allowed to spend the night on the island. Even those who could be considered friends were not allowed to stay overnight on the island, because of the unique natural conditions of the island. As long as there was no one on the island to receive them, outsiders would not be able to enter. Therefore, it became the rule of the island to not let anyone who was not a resident of the island stay overnight. Unless it was a daughter-in-law who had married into the island or a son-in-law who had married into the island, no one could stay overnight. Although there weren't many islands with such rules, it wasn't rare in the Pacific Ocean. Back then, Japan, which was still called Japan, had done many bad things in this great ocean. There were too many shadows left behind. Fortunately, the island Su Yun chose this time didn't seem to have so many rules. Hearing his words, he immediately nodded. Of course, we welcome guests from afar. The person who spoke was the most normal one among them in terms of height, body shape, and skin color. Su Yun could easily tell what he was talking about from his accent. You're Chinese, right? Su Yun smiled. Chinese. The other party was obviously surprised. He didn't expect Su Yun to speak Chinese. This shocked him. Of course, his answer also denied his nationality. He was just Chinese. Lin Ge finally breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that he finally met one of his own people. When fellow countrymen meet fellow countrymen, both eyes are filled with tears. I didn't expect to meet fellow countrymen in this vast Pacific Ocean. Chinese is good. Chinese is good. We can finally have a place to stay. Yeah, I didn't expect you to be Chinese. The Chinese man was still in shock. Then you come with me. I will help you arrange it. That's great. I can't ask for more. Lin Ge nodded again and again. Su Yin also expressed his gratitude. Thank you for your trouble. Everything went so smoothly that Lin Ge couldn't believe it. Under the guidance of the Chinese man, they soon came to a house with everything. The Chinese man told them that this was one of his residences, and asked them to rest assured. Soon, the Chinese man also brought them drinks and food. He asked them to eat and drink as much as they wanted. They couldn't go home until they were drunk. After 3 rounds of drinking, Su Yin and Lin Ge felt sleepy. The Chinese man got up and left to let them rest. After the Chinese man left, Lin Ge suddenly sat up with his eyes wide open and looked at Su Yin. Brother, what do you think this person means? There's obviously something wrong with this wine. He put something in it. Seeing that Su Yin did not respond, Lin Ge was stunned. Brother, don't tell me you really fell for the trick after drinking this wine. The taste of the ecstasy in this wine is too obvious. Su Yin sat up. They just left and you're already yelling. Aren't you afraid of being hurt? Even if I drank it, this little bit of drug wouldn't make me fall asleep like a dead pig. Lin Ge smiled. Brother, what do you think this means? It's really hard to know what's in a person's heart. They already know we're Chinese and they still want to trick us? Don't tell me they want to kill us and rob us at night. Should we scare him, or should we do something else? Su Yin said lightly. Do you think it's this Chinese man's idea? Could it be that all of them came up with this idea? Lin Ge asked. Are they interested in our boat? Why haven't you figured it out yet? Let me ask you. Did you notice that we weren't stopped when we came here? Su Yin said. Compared to the first time we came to the island, isn't it much easier? Yeah. Lin Ge nodded. But isn't this because there are people from the same hometown? And it's a black-hearted fellow. If this sea is as dangerous as Crocodile said, do you think an island will let outsiders enter so easily? Su Yin said. They didn't even look at the mahogany order that Crocodile gave me and let us come. That's because they want to trick us. Lin Ge said. Su Yin asked. Then why don't they think we're pirates and guard against us? Lin Ge was startled and suddenly realized. Unless they are pirates themselves? That's right. Su Yin said. Unless they're pirates themselves, that's why they're not worried that we're pirates. That's why they let us come ashore so easily. We're just fat meat sent to their mouths. It's a waste not to trick them. Lin Ge took a deep breath. Holy sh*t. Who would have thought that he would end up in a pirate's lair after all the precautions he had put up so much? Brother, you mean this island is a pirate's lair? Lin Ge smiled bitterly. The two of us really have good taste. We really know how to pick a place. Su Yin shook his head helplessly. Sometimes it's like this. The more you don't want to run into trouble, the easier it is to run into trouble. Since we're here, there's no reason for them to refuse. They've already entertained us with good wine and food. They're probably waiting to kill us. Should we run or fight with them? Lin Ge said. I'm afraid our ship is already under their control. It's definitely impossible to sneak away. We can only force our way in. Su Yin. Let's wait and rest for a while. When it's about time, they will naturally come to us. We're not in a hurry. Lin Ge laughed and said, All right, brother, we'll do as you say. I'm going to lie down and take a nap. I'm a little tired. Rest for a while. Su Yin also found a comfortable position on the bed and lay down. The other party thought that they had caught a turtle in a jar, but in fact, it was Su Yin who was waiting for them. Chapter 1603. In this way, Su Yin and Lin Ge really fell asleep peacefully. In the latter half of the night, there was no need for any noise to disturb them. The bright torches outside woke them up. The sound of moving footsteps and whispers quickly conveyed a message to them. The other party had a large number of people. Brother, they are really enthusiastic. So many people came to greet us. Linga said. I know a little about the rules of pirates, but the pirates in this place are really a bit special. Compared to the pirates on ships all year round, their behavior is more like mountain bandits. Oh, what do you mean? Suyin, perhaps this place has unique conditions. The vast ocean allows them to rely on the advantages of the conditions to directly occupy the island without worrying about whether the world government will send troops to wipe them out. Lin Gu scratched his head. Most of the pirates I know live on ships. They have nests, but they don't return to the island for 10 days to half a month. It's normal not to go on land for 3 to 5 months, but there are so many people on this island. Obviously, most of them are in their nests on this island. Isn't this more like mountain bandits? That's true. Suyin nodded. I also heard about the rules of pirates. For example, everyone has the right to vote, everyone is fair, but no cheating in terms of wealth. Violators are banished, gambling is prohibited, if you want to drink at night, go to the deck to drink. Keep your weapons clean. Boys and girls are not allowed to join the team. If a crew member brings a girl out to sea, he will be executed. Those who delay the flight will also be executed or banished, and they are not allowed to talk about changing their lifestyle. Lin Gu was taken aback. Not bad, big brother. You know quite a lot. Do you also think that these pirates are more like mountain bandits? They occupy the island and are kings of the island. This is completely different from the traditional pirates we know. That's right. Suyin nodded. When Yi Yuan and Fei Fan left, Fei Fan said something to me. At that time I didn't pay much attention to it, but now that I think about it, it's really... Hearing Su Yun's strange laughter, Lin Ji's curiosity was piqued. What did that kid say? Why didn't I hear anything? He said that the pirates here don't follow the rules, Su Yun said. At the time, I just listened casually and didn't take it to heart. It seemed that they were really unruly. Calling them pirates is a bit of an insult to pirates. They are a group of villains, bandits, and hooligans who commit all kinds of crimes. Lin Gu shrugged his shoulders. Then let's teach these villains a lesson. Then let's go. Suyin finally stood up. At this moment, a low voice came from the door. Capture him alive. This was a guy with a mahogany order. As long as he could capture him and give him to the captain, he would definitely be rewarded greatly. In the future, the people on our island will definitely be valued by the captain. Do you understand? Understood. Everyone replied. The man who gave the order waved his hand vigorously and scolded. Keep your voice down. It would be troublesome if he woke her up. You should know the strength of those who possess the mahogany medallion. Quang Dang. Just as the 100 people outside were still thinking about how to sneak attack, Suyin pushed open the door. The heavy door slammed into the face of the man who gave the order, causing him to be slammed half to death. 100 people, seeing their boss slammed into the back by a door and not moving for a long time, their morale was instantly reduced by half. Aya, why are there still people at the door? Sorry, Suyin said. Why aren't you guys sleeping in the middle of the night? What are you doing here? You know that us two brothers are hungry, so you came to deliver supper? Hearing Su Yun's words, none of the 100 people below could react. It was too sudden, really too sudden. They had been carefully preparing for the whole night, and even specially fed these two people alcohol. How could these two people wake up just like that? They didn't even have time to react. It was really too sudden. Su Yun took a deep breath. You guys are too polite. You even brought knives? Are you going to cut mutton? Eat hot pot? The group of people who didn't know what hot pot was looked at each other blankly. In the end, their gazes focused on the boss whose nose was smashed flat and bleeding profusely. Go. Capture him alive. The leader was the leader. Even if his face was smashed flat, he still gave the order immediately. All of you remember this. Capture the mahogany medallion holder, and the captain will be rewarded with 20 million. 20 million USD. The money belongs to whoever captures him. Suyin didn't hold back anymore. Since they had already shed all pretense of cordiality, he raised his leg and kicked this guy out. When the reward was high, brave men would be attracted. The 100 people were instantly attracted by the 20 million USD. No one remembered what it meant to have a mahogany medallion holder. One had to know that in the Hunter Academy, Only the 8 great instructors were qualified to have a mahogany medallion. Which one of them wasn't extraordinary? It was just that these people were even more unlucky this time. The mahogany medallion holder in front of them was probably stronger than the 8 great instructors of the Hunter Academy. Not to mention Su Yun, just Lin Ji's move alone was enough to knock over a dozen people. Although there were a lot of bandits on this small island, none of them had real strength. If he wasn't mistaken, this was just a subsidiary island of one of the 2 major pirate forces in the Pacific Ocean. These people weren't strong at all. Su Yun felt that the battle was already over before the warm-up was over. 100 people were lying on the ground. Shifty eyebrows and rat eyes, who were secretly watching the battle from afar, didn't dare to show their faces when they saw this scene. The current situation was that the best strategy was to escape. They didn't expect the other party to be so strong. This was a little too exaggerated. If the 2 of them were to show their faces now, they would be courting death. Run. They just had to run quickly and inform the captain as soon as possible. They had to tell the captain that these 2 people weren't easy to deal with. It was impossible to rely on them to deal with these 2 people. Hey, you 2 don't have to hide anymore. You've been following us all the way. It's time to meet up, right? It's not like you're a tortoise. It's not good to hide your heads, right? Just as the 2 of them were about to sneak away, Su Yun's voice sounded. This scared Shifty Eyebrows and Rat Eyes silly. Could it be that the 2 of them had been discovered? That couldn't be. The 2 of them had been careful enough to hide. Lend me a torch. Su Yun picked up a torch that hadn't been extinguished from the ground and threw it behind a few shrubs. Shifty Eyebrows and Rat Eyes ran out while screaming. They were so scared that tears were about to flow out of their faces. This was the rhythm of burning them to death. It was because of the 2 of them that the outside pirates on this island set up such a trap, waiting for Su Yun and Lin Ge to fall into it. Su Yun now understood Bu Fifin's intentions. The pirates on this island were really unruly. Most of the people on this island were ordinary people who had been controlled by the pirates. Under certain circumstances, they would become bandits. With this kind of standard, they wanted to capture the holder of the Mahogany Order. Shifty Eyebrows and Rat Eyes' intestines were green with regret. If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. Even if they used their butts to think, these guys wouldn't be a match for the holder of the Mahogany Order. Chapter 1604. The 2 shifty-eyed fellows weren't fools. After avoiding the fire, they immediately extinguished the fire under their feet. If it started burning, the entire island would be in trouble. Although it was an island with a humid climate, they were really afraid of a fire disaster. If the island was burned in the middle of the night, there would be no place for people to hide. Hide on the ship. Wasn't this a joke? Once the fire burned, those unknown things in the deep sea would be able to see it. Once they were attracted, what would the result be? Staying on the ship was tantamount to waiting for death. Only a fool would choose to stay on a ship next to an island that was on fire in the middle of the night. After stamping out the fire, the 2 of them realized that although they had stopped the fire disaster, they still had to face a struggle. The 2 of them had fought against hundreds of people without batting an eyelid. Wouldn't it be like strangling a little chick to death if they were to deal with the 2 of them? Heroes, 2 heroes, this is a misunderstanding. Shifty-Eyed's reaction was quite fast. After knowing that the 2 of them were Huaxia, he immediately changed his words. Not only did he speak fluent Chinese, but he also knew that hero was an honorific for the masters of Huaxia. Su Yun was really a little surprised. Since he learned fluent Chinese, why did he become a pirate bully? What a smart person with a talent for languages. Wouldn't it be more profitable to do something than to be a pirate? Misunderstanding? Then you explain it to me. Lin Ge had already strode forward as he spoke. He pressed his left hand on Shifty-Eyed's neck and pushed him forward. Then he raised his right foot and kicked the back of Shifty-Eyed's waist. Come on, explain it properly. If you explain it clearly, then it's a misunderstanding. If you can't explain it clearly, then don't blame me for following your rules. The 2 shifty-eyed guys were stunned for a moment. They looked at each other and asked in unison, "What rules do we have?" That's enough. I know you guys aren't the kind of pirates who have morals. You guys are just a bunch of rotten fish, rotten shrimps, and wretched bastards. However, any pirate knows that they can't use underhanded methods. Your poisoning is one of them. Lin Ge said. According to the rules, he would have to chop off his right hand and feed it to the sharks. Then, he would be banished to an uninhabited island to fend for himself. When the two of them heard this, they were so scared that they trembled all over. Oh my God, isn't this too serious? Wasn't this the same as trying to kill him? Even if it was a perfect person with both hands and feet, it was already very difficult for them to come out alive after being exiled to an isolated island. Chopping off their hands meant certain death. No, hero, you misunderstood. We don't have such a rule, Rat-Eye quickly said. This guy's Chinese was not bad. We are the kind of rotten fish and rotten shrimp that you said. How can there be any rules for a rotten fish and rotten shrimp? Haha. Rat-Eye's fake smile was really funny. He was really scared. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such an expression. No rules? Are there really no rules? Lin Ge said. Then why don't I set some rules for you? Don't talk nonsense with him. Su Yun secretly gave Lin Ge a look and said, just deal with them as you should. Brother, you didn't ask them who arranged it. You just want me to kill them directly? Lin Ge, of course, could understand Su Yun's meaning. He immediately said, then how do you do it? Just kill them directly? As Lin Ge said this, he made a throat-slitting gesture with his hand at the back of his neck. This completely scared the two guys with shifty eyes. Su Yun waved his hand. You can deal with it however you want. It's not the first time we've encountered pirates. We all know that they are stubborn. We can't get anything out of them even if we force them to confess. It's a waste of time and we'll still have to kill them in the end. Why don't we just get rid of them now and end it once and for all? This will also be a relief for them, and save them the trouble of forcing them to confess. Su Yun said this because he already knew that since the other party thought that they were the holders of the Mahogany Order, they definitely thought that they were the people of Headmaster Gu of the Hunter School. Headmaster Gu had punished these despicable bandits many times. Therefore, Su Yun's act was reasonable. It was hard for the two of them not to believe it. Lin Ge nodded. That's true. Then let's just send them on their way. Don't. How do you know that we're stubborn when you haven't even asked us? We brothers are different from others. Our mouths are soft and ruthless. We don't need to be tortured. As long as you have anything you want to know, just ask. We'll tell you everything we know. The shifty eyes were very tacit when it came to this matter. The two of them begged for mercy in unison. Su Yun smiled bitterly. Was he lucky or unlucky? Su Yun thought to himself, I've met a weakling. If he was unlucky, he had met two spineless people. They were really not a threat. If he was lucky, he couldn't stop on the first night. He was really unlucky. Then tell me, what's the situation? Isn't it a misunderstanding? Su Yun said. Explain. Shifty Eyes grinned and nodded. We mistook you for someone else. We mistook you for someone else. Yes. The Shifty Eyes quickly followed up. We mistook you for someone who owed us money, so we just wanted to hold you down and get the money back. There's no other meaning. We just didn't expect to make a mistake and offend the two heroes. It's really a sin. Su Yun nodded. The reason is good. It sounds quite reasonable. Yes. It's very reasonable. Haha. The big stone in the hearts of the Shifty Eyes and the Shifty Eyes were also half put down. The two heroes are magnanimous. Please forgive us for being blind. Brother, this reason is not bad. Lin Ge grinned and showed a helpless smile. This is too far-fetched. As soon as he heard this, the Shifty Eye's little heart that had just been put down was raised again. I mean, if we didn't know that they had been following us all the way, this reason sounds pretty good. Su Yun. But after leaving the port in Hawaii, we have been followed. Now using this reason to deal with me is a bit far-fetched. You mistook us for someone else. The Shifty Eyes said again. We definitely didn't follow you. Yes. You mistook us for someone else. The Shifty Eyes added. Su Yun pointed at himself and said, You mean to say that I am blind? The Shifty Eyes nodded quickly. After a moment of realization, he quickly shook his head. No. We are blind. See? I said that these people are stubborn. It's useless to say more. In the end, we still have to kill them. Let's do it now. Su Yin waved his hand and directly let Lin Gu do it. Lin Gu rolled up his sleeves without saying anything. Just as Su Yin turned around and ignored the two fellows, the shifty-eyed man kneeled on the ground with a plop. Hero, please spare us. We were just trying to make a living. We really didn't mean to let you two down. It was Captain Kame. Captain Kame ordered us to do this. We had no choice. If we didn't do it, we would be the ones dead. The two of them were really scared. They begged sincerely. We really don't dare to offend Captain Kame. If we offend him, we won't be able to survive here anymore. He ordered us to catch you. Why did he target us? Su Yin. It's only our first day in Hawaii. Wait, let me analyze it. Is it because of this? As he spoke, Su Yin took out the mahogany token. Seeing the mahogany token, the shifty eyes were so scared that they didn't even dare to breathe. They nodded repeatedly. It was because of this thing. It was because of this small token. Su Yin put away the mahogany token. This thing was really useful, but it also brought him all kinds of trouble. Then, the Captain Kame you mentioned, is he from the Sharks or the Beluga Whale clan? Hearing these two names, the shifty eyes sucked in a cold breath. Hero, you think too highly of our Captain Kame. We are the Sea Monster Pirate clan. Captain Kame is the captain of our Sea Monster Pirate clan, Su Yin said. Oh, so it's just a lowly gang. Chapter 1605. Who are you calling lowly? A loud shout came from the boat on the island. The sound of a boat discharging water could be faintly heard in the distance. It was obvious that a large warship had arrived. The person who shouted was probably the vanguard of the owner of the boat. He looked very powerful and had a fearless expression on his face. When Shifty Eyes saw the figure in the distance, he instantly beamed with joy. They were saved. First Mate Par. You and the captain are finally here. These two mahogany order holders are too powerful. We're no match for them. Look, so many people couldn't stop them. You two bastards, you can't even solve such a small matter. You need the captain and I to do it ourselves. What's the point of keeping you? The figure in the distance was Par. In this part of the sea, Par's name was well known enough to make people tremble in fear. First Mate Par, don't be angry. We really want to do something for you and the captain, but you can see the situation now. We're no match for them, Shifty Eyes complained. We're already fighting with our lives. Shifty Eyes also complained. Yes, we've been following them for an entire day to come up with such a good plan to take them down. Who knew that these two people would be so cunning? We had no choice but to fight hard. But the result was still that we weren't strong enough. We really don't have the ability to deal with mahogany order holders. When Su Yin heard their words, he couldn't help but laugh. When did you two fight hard with us? Weren't you just hiding in a corner to watch the show? When you saw that the east wind was suppressing the west wind, you wanted to run away immediately. After you were caught, you didn't even need to force a confession out of your lowly Captain Kamehama. First Mate Par was furious. He glared at Su Yin fiercely. This guy had repeatedly said that they were lowly. These mahogany order holders were all the same. They all looked down on small pirate gangs like them. They only had eyes for the two big pirate gangs, the Sharks and the Beluga clan. They looked down on them directly. As for the betrayal, Par threw it to the back of his mind. What's so great about you? You just have a mahogany order, right? Let me tell you, if you don't have that token, you're nothing in my eyes. But since someone gave you the mahogany medallion, I will reluctantly look up to you and see what you are capable of. Wait a minute, are you missing the point? Lin Gu pointed at him with shifty eyes and said, My brother is telling you that your two subordinates betrayed you. Are you stupid? Can't you tell the difference between good and bad? You don't have a badge. You're not qualified to talk to me. First Mate Par said arrogantly. The corner of Lin Ji's mouth twitched. This grandson wouldn't shed a tear until he saw the coffin. He wouldn't give up until he reached the Yellow River. If he didn't teach him a lesson, then he would be letting down his fists. All right, I'm not up to standard, and you're not up to standard either. Then let's spar, shall we? Linga twisted his neck provocatively and rubbed his palms together. First Mate Par pointed at Su Yin angrily. Only someone with a mahogany order has the right to spar with me. Spar your ass. Linga spat. I'm here to teach you a lesson. As he spoke, Linga strode forward and jumped high into the air. His knee slammed into Par's face. Par wasn't weak, so he wouldn't die in one hit. However, he had underestimated his opponent too much. He didn't take Linga seriously at all, so he didn't put up any defenses. As long as someone didn't put up any defenses, they would die very quickly. By the time Par realized the danger, it was already too late to dodge. His face came into contact with Lin Ji's knee for the first time. The impact turned Par's head into mush. After a series of buzzing sounds, First Mate Par staggered back 2 or 3 meters. Linga didn't give him any time to react. He quickly followed up with a kick. It was like a cannonball had been fired from a barrel, and it slammed into Par's chest. Although First Mate Par was known for his resistance to attacks, he was still sent flying 5 or 6 meters away by this kick. However, First Mate Par, who was known for his resistance to attacks, wouldn't admit defeat so easily. He used all his strength to stand up again. Although he wasn't from Huaxia, he liked Huaxia's saying that a man has gold under his knees. He was someone who swore that even if he died, he would die standing up. The moment First Mate Par stood up, Lin Ji's leg came crashing down on his face. This kick didn't give First Mate Par any chance to escape. A furious Linga wasn't someone to be trifled with. Each of his 3 strikes was more vicious than the last. The fact that First Mate Par could withstand 3 strikes before falling to the ground proved that he was very strong. Shifty eyebrows and rat eyes were completely dumbfounded. They'd always thought that this person was just a follower of the Mahogany Order holder. They didn't think that this person's strength was so terrifying. 3 strikes. Just 3 strikes, and First Mate Par, who was powerful in this part of the sea, was kneeling on the ground, unable to get up. Linga snorted in disdain. He didn't even use his fists. He only used his legs to put this guy down. You're just a piece of trash. After First Mate Par was taken down, the entire place fell silent. This made the sound of the large boat approaching the shore even more obvious. Everyone realized that Captain Kame had arrived. Although First Mate Par had been taken down in 3 strikes, Captain Kame's arrival still filled shifty eyebrows and rat eyes with hope for victory. Yes, in their eyes, no matter how strong 2 people were, there was no way they could escape from Captain Kame's grasp. It didn't matter if he was the Mahogany Order holder or not. There was no way he could fight against a powerful pirate captain alone. The main character is here. Su Yin smiled. Let's be careful. No one would believe that someone who can become a captain doesn't have a few tricks up his sleeve. That's true. Linga nodded and looked at shifty eyebrows and rat eyes. You 2 should know what this Captain Kame is capable of, right? Tell us about it. Take it as a reward for not making you 2 suffer. Shifty eyebrows and rat eyes now had someone to rely on. Of course, they wouldn't fall for Lin Ji's trick. They ignored him completely. Yo, you don't believe that I can cripple you 2 before your Captain Kame arrives? Linga threatened with a glare. Shifty eyebrows and rat eyes were definitely sensible people. Their expressions changed immediately. No. That's not what I meant. If you want to know anything about Captain Kame, just ask. We'll tell you everything we know. Then why don't you tell me what his big move is? Linga chuckled. Big move? Shifty eyebrows didn't understand what he meant. Bang. Suddenly there was a gunshot. Shifty eyebrows' head exploded with a bang. Rat Eye's face was covered in blood and brain matter. Rat Eyes was stunned. TSK, so this is his big move. His marksmanship is quite accurate. Linga didn't want to see that horrible scene. It was too disgusting. Rat Eyes of course knew who fired the shot. After coming back to his senses, he quickly crouched on the ground and begged for mercy. Captain Kame, please spare me. It's not what you think. I'm loyal to you. A hoarse voice came from where the gunshot came from. Loyal to me and betrayed me, right? At this time, you still want to tell the enemy everything you know. You 2 are really too disloyal. A few black shadows came from afar. That trench coat, that style, tisk tsk tsk, it really felt like a captain. Captain Kame kept you two in Hawaii because you two speak good Chinese and can judge who is the real fat sheep. It's not because you are loyal. Another voice said. Since you betrayed the captain to this extent, the captain has no need to keep you. Just as everyone was waiting for the second shot, Su Yun said, no matter how useless they are, didn't they trap the two of us on this island? Even if they don't have merit, they have worked hard. They don't deserve to die. Su Yun's words made Radai prostrate himself in gratitude. Ha ha ha. What a bold young man. No wonder Principal Gu can value people with mahogany token. Captain Kamea's voice was really hoarse. If you can be used by me, I may consider sparing your lives. Chapter 1606. Captain. I'm afraid that's not very appropriate. The one who spoke was the vice-captain of the Kraken Pirates, Bitley. They've just killed First Mate Par. If we recruit them now, I'm worried that our brothers will feel uncomfortable and unconvinced. So I think it's better to. It's nothing. Everyone knows that there's nothing wrong with my pursuit of talents. As long as they can be of use to me in the future, they'll be my good friends, Captain Kame said. As long as they're loyal to me, they'll be my good subordinates. I can also promise any of you that I'll surpass the Sharks and Beluga Pirates sooner or later. I'll make the Kraken Pirates the biggest force in the Pacific Ocean. This is my promise to all of you, and also to anyone who wants to join us. Captain Kame is mighty and domineering. Captain Kame is so cool. Radai quickly flattered. He didn't want to end up like Thief Eye, whose head had exploded. Even if his own parents came, they wouldn't be able to recognize him. In this day and age, as long as one could survive, nothing mattered. What was dignity? Captain Kame ignored Ratai's flattery and continued to talk about Su Yun. Friend, I've already sincerely extended an olive branch to you. As long as you're willing, nothing is a problem. I'm just waiting for your word. Let's forget about our previous conflicts. Once you're on my ship, you can be my first mate. How much money do you want? Just say the word. In the future, whatever I get, you can take as much as you want from me. Just say the word. Lin Gu was speechless. Did this guy think that this was a job fair? Was this an open recruitment? Salary and benefits? There were even bonuses. If he continued, he would probably give him shares, right? How about this? As long as you agree to join my ship, I'll give you 10% of all my wealth. Captain Kame had already spent a lot of money. 10%. 10% of all his wealth. According to their rules, the captain would take 90% of the spoils, and the others would share 10%. Captain Kame gave Su Yun 10%. What did that equate to? 10% of the shares. If this was in the recruitment market, it would definitely be a treatment that even the super managers couldn't give. 10% of the shares belong to the major shareholders. Captain Kame is really sincere. This amount of money completely shocked Vice Captain Bitley. After all, he had been with Captain Camel for so many years, and each time, he only received 2% of the spoils. As a loyal vice captain, having 2% was really too little. But this unknown guy had just appeared, and he could get 10% of Captain Kamahir's savings. Would he be able to get 10% of the spoils in the future? Was this still the treatment of a first mate? This time, it surpassed the total of everyone on the ship except for the captain. Captain Kame, do you think so highly of him? Of course, Beatley was unwilling to give up. Yes, that's right. He is the holder of the Mahogany Order. Captain Kame said, do you know how many people in this world can have $100 million in their lifetime? Even 1 in a million people can't get so much money in their lifetime. Su Yun raised his hand and made a stop gesture. Captain Kame, if I knew you were so poor, I wouldn't have wasted my time with you. 20%? Even if you give me your hundreds of millions, I don't care. What's this little money? Captain Kame's face changed. This was the first time someone looked down on him and his money. The main reason was that they looked down on his money. He had spent half his life risking his life for a few $100 million. This guy said he didn't like it? What nonsense. Ridiculous. Bitley gritted his teeth and said, Captain, let me deal with this guy. I'll also let that guy in the ancient magpie world know that in the future, don't look down on us sea monster pirates. We can even kill the mahogany order holder that the sharks and beluga whale couldn't kill. You talk big. Lin Ge hooked his finger. If you want to touch my brother, you'll have to try me first. Then I'd like to see what you're capable of. Bitley sneered and took out the machete at his waist. Let me cut off your meat piece by piece and slowly roast it. It'll be Captain Kame's dinner. Lin Ge grinned. My meat is pretty good. It's very delicious. I'm just afraid you don't have the ability to cut it off. At this time, Captain Kame didn't stop his vice-captain. Maybe he should let Bitley teach this follower a lesson. Otherwise, if he didn't know how powerful he was, he wouldn't join him. He had to teach them a lesson so that they would obey him obediently. After getting Captain Kame's permission, Bitley walked towards Lin Ge with his machete. Lin Ge had seen a lot of pirate tricks since he was young, so he didn't hesitate to face him. Chapter 1607. Lin Ge grew up in the Caribbean. That place was not as vast as the Pacific Ocean, but the pirates there were not necessarily weaker than the Pacific Ocean. From ancient times to the present, the pirate gangs in the Caribbean added up to at least 8,000 if not 10,000. Those who could survive were all captains with certain strength, otherwise, they would have been completely wiped out by the world government. Because the pirates in the Caribbean were cunning enough and insidious enough, they were not completely wiped out by the world government. Although the pirates in the Caribbean were more well-behaved now, that was in front of escorted ships. No one dared to touch the merchant ships of Huaxia. No one wanted to die. But in the face of some other ships, they would still make a move. And the few pirate leaders who could still survive in the Caribbean were all people who found new ways to survive. First, they did not touch ships that should not be touched. If anyone did not listen to orders and looked for trouble, they would be executed or exiled. Anyway, they would not continue to let troublemakers stay in the gang. Second, they began to learn how to deal with smuggled ships and armed ships, so that no one would find trouble with them. Of course, the people who can do the second must be strong. If they did not have a certain strength, they would provoke these things. Even if the world government did not come forward, there would be people who would come to eat them. Over the years, the number of pirate gangs in the Caribbean has been decreasing. In addition to the suppression of the world government, a large part of the reason was because of this. As a result, many pirate gangs that were not strong enough to provoke people they could not afford to provoke, and then they were swallowed up. Before Lin Ge left the Caribbean, he knew a few powerful pirate gangs. Among these people, the most powerful one should be the white-haired captain. The name white hair came from his white hair. It was said that his hair turned white overnight. As for what happened, no one knew. White hair did not have a left arm. It was said that he was attacked by a cruel sea beast while saving one of his sons. Yes, the people on his ship were all his sons. Everyone called him white-haired father. He was not old, but even people who were not younger than him would respectfully call him white-haired father. This was because he had basically given the people under him a second life. Therefore, these people respected him from the bottom of their hearts. The white-haired old man was also one of the few righteous pirates that Lin Ge had met. At least Lin Ge thought so. The white-haired old man had never hijacked a legitimate merchant ship, nor had he ever harmed the lives of legitimate businessmen or tourists. Every time he attacked, he robbed illegal smuggling ships or ships that dealt in drugs, arms, or even counterfeit money. Relying on these, the white-haired old man's pirate group had never declined in the Caribbean. When Lin Ge left the Caribbean, the white-haired old man was still the flag of the Caribbean. The reason why Lin Ge was familiar with pirates was that he had lived on Old Man Whitehair's ship for a period of time. At that time he wanted to destroy Old Man Whitehair's pirate group, but he didn't have the strength to do so. However, after being captured by Old Man Whitehair, Lin Ge suddenly realized that Old Man Whitehair's people were different from other pirates. Then he slowly fell in love with these people. He also followed these pirates to do what pirates did and hijack those ships. After a few experiences, Lin Ge knew that Old Man Whitehair only hijacked ships that did illegal things or robbed the ships of the same trade. It was also at that time that Lin Ge saw the sinister and cunning guys in other pirate groups. Some pirates always like to stuff a handful of fine sand in their pockets. This kind of fine sand often played a fatal role when facing the enemy. At a critical moment, even the eyes of a powerful expert would be hurt by the fine sand. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the sinister often took the initiative. At that time, Lin Ge suffered this loss, so he was very clear about this little trick of pirates. The moment he stepped forward, he saw Bitly's hand without a knife in his pocket. He knew what the other party was going to do. Just as Bitly threw out a handful of fine sand, ready to take advantage of Lin Ge's pain with his eyes closed to kill him, Lin Ge suddenly rose into the air. Bitly threw out a handful of fine sand, but it was blown back by a gust of wind from Lin Ge's legs. Bitly's eyes entered the fine sand he raised and instantly became bloodshot. He was in so much pain that he couldn't stop crying. How could he still care about raising his knife to chop people? He covered his face and ran back. Lin Ge wouldn't give him the chance. He stepped forward and grabbed the back of Bitly's neck, pulled him back, and used a rope under his feet. Bitly fell heavily to the ground. After all, Bitly was the vice captain of a pirate group. He was also a man who had experienced hundreds of battles. Facing this disadvantage, he didn't panic. He rolled back to avoid his opponent and continued to try to escape. Both of his eyes were sealed. There was no way to fight. This was really a case of trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. If he was facing a small character, he might have a chance to escape. But Lin Ge didn't give him a chance at all. He stepped forward and blocked Bitly's escape route. Bitly gritted his teeth and narrowed his eyes, cursing, "Despicable! I'm despicable?" Lin Ge laughed. "If you weren't despicable, you wouldn't have ended up like this. What, you didn't succeed in playing shamelessly, so you don't want to continue playing? This is too boring. Give me some strength. Be more passionate. Don't be so boring. I just started warming up. My eyes." Bitly now needed fresh water to rinse. Seeing his vice captain suffer the consequences of his own actions, Captain Kame had nothing to say, but he couldn't just watch his own people being humiliated. With a glance, several people behind him quickly surrounded Lin Ge and Bitly. Lin Ge didn't dare to be careless, so he didn't act rashly. He watched as Bitly retreated with a dejected face. Lin Ge looked at the four people around him vigilantly. Who knew if they still had any despicable tricks up their sleeves? "Captain Kame, I didn't expect you to be so considerate of your subordinates. Isn't it just a little sand in your eyes? What's the big deal?" "Su Yin, if I were you, I would really look down on such a vice captain. He's too delicate. Can a person who can't even tolerate a little sand in his eyes become something great?" Captain Kame didn't understand what Su Yin meant. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he looked at Su Yin blankly. "For example, your inferior pirate group is sand in the eyes of the Sharks and Beluga Whale clan. People who can achieve great things will tolerate a small sand like you." Su Yin smiled. "I don't know the difference in strength between you two, but from today's performance, I can see that your Sea Monster Legion will never be able to catch up with them in this lifetime. It's also impossible for you to dominate the Pacific Ocean. This is just a dream wake-up. Are you trying to anger me?" Although Captain Kame hated these words, he still remained calm. "Then you're wrong. I'm not so easily angered. You know whether you're angry or not." Su Yin disdainfully said, "I don't have time to waste with you. I can tell you very clearly that you're not qualified to be my opponent. I'm too lazy to fight you. Get lost." Captain Kame wasn't so magnanimous. After Su Yin finished speaking, his anger completely exploded. There were only two people on the other side. How dare they look down on him like this? "Everyone listen to my orders. Who will take the heads of these two people? Who will be promoted to first mate?" Captain Kame ordered, and the 100 people behind him swarmed towards Su Yin. There was no lack of masters among them, but unfortunately, masters of this level were nothing in front of Su Yin. It looked like a fierce battle, but the result was one-sided without any suspense. Chapter 1608. A mediocre gang was a mediocre gang indeed. Although Captain Kame's strength was not to be underestimated, he could not even take on Lin Ge alone. Lin Ge had defeated Captain Kame's first mate, first mate and second mate, leaving Captain Kame to face Suyin alone. This was really giving him face. Captain, speaking of which, there are many paths to take in this world. It's up to you to choose. Suyin smiled. You don't have the ability to be a pirate, so you shouldn't try to be brave. You can't even handle 2 passers-by like us. What do you have to fight with Headmaster Gu? Don't blame him for looking down on you. You're really not worthy of his attention. With your level, I don't even care about you. Don't think about competing with the Sharks and Beluga Whale clan. That's not a good thing. Prepare to retire after today. Captain Kame's expression changed. What do you think you can do? Fine, let's see who's stronger today. Suyin also sneered. Captain Carmel, if you lose, all your belongings will be mine. Take this money as a thank you gift to Principal Gu when I return. Ha! As the laughter rang out, Suyin made his move. The wind from his fist whistled towards Captain Kame's face. If Captain Kame had not been prepared, this punch would have been enough to break his nose. After seeing Suyun's strength, Captain Kame did not dare to underestimate Suyin anymore. While dodging Suyun's punch, he sinisterly hooked his foot. It should be known that there was a sharp dagger hidden in the tip of his shoe. Just this one move was enough to make his opponent unable to take it. Suyin sidestepped the sneak attack and followed up with a kick, hooking Captain Kame's ankle. Without waiting for him to react, Suyin quickly broke the dagger on the tip of his foot. Captain Kame lost his balance and fell heavily to the ground. What Suyin had destroyed were the weapons that he relied on to survive. Without these tools, his combat power would be reduced by more than half. As the captain of a ship, you use such despicable methods? Suyin played with the broken dagger in his hand. How many people have you secretly hurt with this thing? Looks like I really can't underestimate you. You must have a lot of hidden weapons on you, right? However, I also have concealed weapons, and they are of a higher grade than yours. Captain Kame sneered. He didn't believe it. He was so angry that he didn't care about anything else. A cold light flashed in his hand as he rushed toward Suyin. Sure enough, it was another hidden weapon. Suyin stepped forward without hesitation and suddenly shouted, "Right hand!" As soon as Captain Kame swung his right fist, which was secretly equipped with a blade, there was a crisp sound of collision. His fist was shaken and numbed. Just as Captain Kame hesitated, Suyun's arrow simply hit Captain Kame's face like a meteor. With a perfect arc drawn by the nosebleed, Captain Kame's body was thrown high into the air, and then he had a free fall. On the side, Lin Gu looked at Suyin with a smile, playing with a coin in his hand. He was Suyun's hidden weapon. How is it? My hidden weapon is of a higher grade than yours, right? Suyin smiled and looked at Captain Kame, who was lying on the ground. I only need to say one word, and my hidden weapon will hit wherever I point. Captain Kame forced himself to get up, and spat out a mouthful of blood with teeth. He really couldn't afford to offend the holder of the Mahogany Order. Just these 2 people, and he was sent to this miserable world. Looking at his brothers who were overturned on the ground. Was he really wiped out? I admit defeat today. Everything I have, as long as you want it, you can take it. I'll even give you the ship. Captain Kame chose to give up. You can also kill me, but I want to do one last thing for my brothers. Mouth. Suyin smiled faintly. Pa. 2 of Captain Kame's few remaining teeth were smashed by the coin, and he swallowed them down with blood. He looked at Suyin in surprise. He didn't even attack. Could he really shoot the hidden weapon with just his mouth? He didn't even have a chance to play tricks. Lin Gu didn't move at all. He didn't let Captain Kame know that he was the one who attacked. Captain Kame, think clearly before you say anything, Suyin said. You'll even give me the ship? What are you up to? Of course, Captain Kame didn't have any good intentions. Pirates also had dignity. In order to prevent his ship from being robbed one day, Captain Kame hid a bomb at the bottom of the ship, and he carried the bomb's control device with him. As long as he pressed the password, his ship would be blown to pieces. Captain Kame had already fallen to this point, and could only plan to make a comeback. But he had to avenge Suyin, so he wanted to trick him one last time. But he didn't expect the other party to be so vigilant, and immediately realized that something was wrong. You pirates aren't so kind, Suyin said. But I'm quite interested in the second half of your sentence. What do you want to do for your brothers in the end? Don't kill them. Give them a chance. Captain Kame smiled bitterly. What he said was true. Perhaps people would always think of those who had sacrificed for them when they had no way out. They would want to fight for the rights that they could fight for in the end. Okay, quite benevolent. Su Yun said. But don't be a pirate in the future. The Pacific is so charming, it's really not suitable for this line of work. If you want to be a pirate, I'll recommend you a place. Lin Ge laughed. Go to the Caribbean, find white hair, and say that I Lin Ge recommended you. For my sake, father will definitely accept you. Captain Kame's face changed. White hair old man. You know white hair? Not bad. Lin Ge said. Why are you interested? Can you really introduce me to white hair old man's team? Captain Kame was so excited that he almost couldn't stand. You know, in the entire ocean today, who didn't want to join white hair old man? Not only could he do what he liked, but he also had the strength to fight with his father and not be suppressed by the world government. And white hair old man's character was respected by all pirates. Who wouldn't want to join his team? I saw that you could still think about your brothers in the end, so I gave you a way out. Lin Ge said. At least you have some benevolence in your heart. If you can go to the Caribbean alive, then go find white hair old man. He will give me face. Captain Kame still couldn't believe it was true. Su Yun snorted. Do we need to fool you? Let you go to the Caribbean to die? If we want you to die, it's just a matter of moving a finger now. Otherwise, why do you think you can still stand here? Can I really go? Captain Kame didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He really didn't expect that his team would be destroyed this time in exchange for a new student. If he could join white hair old man, it would really be a new life for him. It would be the most meaningful change in his pirate career. Don't dilly-dally like a girl. Lin Ge glanced at Captain Kame and didn't want to bother with him. You're still a pirate captain, right? Even if you're not in the mainstream, you should have some courage and go do what you need to do. Captain Cameron expressed his gratitude and left without looking back. His departure meant that there was one less group of villains in the Pacific Ocean who would not shrink from any crime. And in the distant waters of the Caribbean, there was one more brave sailor who could help the white-haired old man take advantage of the situation. After Su Yun and Lin Ge spent a restless night on the chaotic island, they packed up their supplies and all the treasures that Kame had plundered over the years onto their speedboat. Su Yun said that he would give these to Principal Gu as a thank you gift, so he would definitely give it to him. The restless night was over, and the next day's voyage would continue. Su Yun knew that this was just the beginning of his choice to come to this sea. He had to deal with so many troubles while looking for Phantom. It was destined to be an extraordinary journey. Chapter 1609. The news of the destruction of Captain Kame's sea monster pirates quickly spread throughout the Pacific Ocean. Good news spread far and wide while bad news didn't leave the house. But whether this was good news or bad news, it was hard to say. However, in this way, Su Yun and Lin Ji's heads instantly became popular in the Pacific Ocean. Even the ancient Magpie realm was quite shocked when they heard the news. Although the two of them couldn't be described as single-handedly defeating an entire group of pirates, it was definitely not an easy task. At the very least, it was very respectable that they were able to deal with them in one night. Where did these two boys come from? They are quite powerful. Dongfang Fan held a bounty poster that he didn't know where he got it from. This was one of the favorite things of pirates in this place. Everyone's value was clearly marked. Even the pirates themselves had a corresponding value. For example, Captain Kame's head was worth 20 million, and Su Yun and Lin Ge defeated him in one fell swoop. As a newcomer who was listed on the bounty poster for the first time, Su Yun's bounty of 30 million was definitely a terrifying amount. On the other hand, Lin Ge also had an identity of 20 million. This pair of brothers who had just arrived in the Pacific Ocean only had a small cruise ship. Their combined net worth was even higher than the total net worth of those small pirate groups. It's quite powerful. 30 million hee. Yuan smiled bitterly. He had been in this area for so many years, and his head was only worth 48 million. Su Yun, who had just arrived, directly gave him 30 million. TSK, TSK, TSK. This group of pirates really had good taste. Tang Yiping smiled slightly. Their value is really close to ours. Principal, you think so highly of this boy. You must know something, right? No wonder you asked Crocodile to give them such a good yacht, and also prepared so much food and water. Do you have any ideas? Do you want to take these two boys? A golden scale is not a fish in a pond. Gu Magpie Jie said indifferently. Our small temple might not be able to raise one. Dongfang Fan frowned. The headmaster had never said such words before. One must know that the headmaster was the person whose strength was the closest to the three sovereigns in the world. If he wanted to be the headmaster, he could be ranked just below the Empress Wulingyue and Huangfugua. He could be the third sovereign of the underground world. It was just that he had always denied it. Therefore, for the ancient magpie world to say such words, it was really beyond Dongfang Fan's expectations. This meant that this young man was more than just that. Principal, they are just two young people. Yuan had seen them before, so he felt that the ancient magpie world had overestimated them. I admit that these two young people are rare among the young people I've seen, but Ancient Magpie Realm smiled and interrupted Yuan. Do you want to make a bet with me? Yuan was startled. The price that those boring fellows are offering to this kid will definitely double in less than 3 days. The corners of Gu Magpie's mouth curled up slightly, as if he had seen something delightful. Double. 60 million? Tang Yiping's face trembled. He, Lone Wolf, had made so many pirates tremble in fear. Only then did he have a bounty of 60 million. A young man like this in just 3 days? Directly surpassing him? Impossible. How could this be possible? The highest bounty in the Hunter Academy was the #1 instructor, Zhui Ming, Dongfang Fan. His bounty of 80 million had not been touched for 3 years. I don't believe it. Without waiting for Yuan to speak, Tang Yiping shook his head. Principal, if the head on this kid's neck is worth 30 million, I doubt that he can last more than 3 days. How many people will be jealous and want to take this money? The two of them are really in big trouble. What about you, Zhui Ming? Do you believe it? Ancient Magpie Realm's gaze landed on Dongfang Fan. This was his most promising successor. Dongfang Fan thought for a while, nodded, then shook his head. I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe. I believe it. Yuan suddenly said. I didn't at first, but now I believe it. What are you talking about? Tang Yiping laughed. Do you really think that this kid's prestige can surpass your brother's in 3 days? Forget it, the principal is just teasing you. If this kid's value can double in 3 days, I will do whatever you want me to do. Lone Wolf, you said it. Ancient Magpie Realm continued. Just right, in 3 days, I want to find someone to organize these young people who have been on the island for about a year to experience the limit. If you lose, you will lead this matter. Tang Yiping smiled bitterly. Principal, experience the limit again? I was the one who went last time. It was too torturous. I suffered much more than those kids. This time, it's time for someone else to go. Let Crocodile go. He hasn't been there yet. Let him have a taste of what it's like to be an organizer. Otherwise, he'll always laugh at me for being nosy. Last time you went because you lost a bet. Otherwise, it would have been my turn. Yuan said. This time, you still want to bet. Wait, yes, I will go if I lose the bet. Tang Yiping calmed down. Ha, if I win, then I won't go. If I lose, I will go. Yuan said. Tang Yiping pouted. It is your turn anyway. You won't lose. Humph, you always laugh at me. This time, you will take these kids and you will know how hard they are to train. When the time comes, they will all cry for their parents. It will be so annoying. Ancient Magpie Realm laughed. Then it is settled. When the time comes, no one can go back on their word. Principal, don't worry. If this kid wants to go back on his word, I will be the first to disagree. Tang Yiping looked at Yuan proudly. Yuan smiled bitterly. I say, why don't you have the awareness of losing? Prepare to pack your things and go experience the limit again. Slowly, you will get used to it. Let's wait and see. Tang Yiping was full of confidence. In 3 days, a young man's prestige in the sea area had surpassed his. This was absolutely impossible. He didn't need to think too much. He admitted that this young man had a bright future, but he didn't believe that he could be so awesome. It was just a simple matter. After Dongfang Fan saw the expression on Ancient Magpie Realm's face, he had a rough judgment in his heart. Perhaps Lone Wolf's gambling luck was really bad. This time he might lose again. But Tang Yipeng didn't think so. He had a good mentality. If this young man could really do it, he would absolutely admire him and cooperate wholeheartedly. Ancient Magpie Realm waved his hand to signal them to do their own things. For the time being, they didn't need to help the two boys. Moreover, he had to remind Yi Yuan to pay attention to Bufifen's mood these days. After all, this matter was directly related to his family. Suyin, this kid is a bit interesting. Ancient Magpie Realm unconsciously revealed a smile. Ever since he talked to Zhuolengyue on the phone, he was very surprised. Now his surprise had finally disappeared. It was no wonder that the Empress didn't mind this kid at all. In fact, they were all the same. In the face of a moldable talent, no one wanted to destroy it. This was the future of Huaxia's underground world, and the entire world's underground world. Although his father had gone down a path of no return because of his temper and character, they had to do their best to prevent him from repeating the same mistake. That's right. When Yi Yuan mentioned this matter to him, Ancient Magpie Realm knew that Suyin wasn't just here to look for someone. He was here to look for a place where he couldn't return. This kid was destined to become a legendary figure. As for whether he would find that place or not, Ancient Magpie Realm wouldn't help him or stop him. Everything would take its course. The Ancient Magpie world believed that many things in this world were predestined. Everything would happen due to the cycle of karma. Regardless of whether someone tried to add fuel to the fire or stop it, it wouldn't change the outcome as long as it was predestined. Chapter 1610. It wasn't just the Ancient Magpie Realm that was interested in the rising star in this sea region. On the main island occupied by the sharks, there was a cave that looked inconspicuous but had a different world inside. Under the power of the generator, the entire cave was brightly lit. Two similar bounty posters were placed on the huge table. A middle-aged man with a bare chest and bare back sat in front of the table. His hair and skin were the typical color of Southeast Asia. The countless scars all over his body were shining like glory. Before he spoke, the entire cave was eerily quiet. Everyone was waiting for this person to speak. If he didn't speak, no one even dared to breathe loudly. This bare-chested middle-aged man was one of the top pirate leaders in the Pan-Sea region. The #1 figure of the Sharks gang, Naka. Yes, he was a Thai. It was just that he had been in the sea for too long, so he no longer had the smell of a Thai. However, people could still recognize his nationality at a glance. He had the standard look of a Thai, just like the kind of guy who was not tall and had a small mustache. Everyone could recognize that he was a Japanese at a glance. Naka picked up the bounty poster on the table and carefully looked at the completely unfamiliar face on the poster. A mahogany order holder and a mahogany order holder. These mahogany order holders brought him so much trouble every year. Every year, how many brothers would die under his hands? Every year, how much money would he lose? He couldn't even count it himself. He believed that no one in this sea region hated these mahogany order holders more than he did. But this time he didn't hate them. Instead he admired them. Camel, that small fish, had always been self-righteous. He claimed that he was about to surpass his sharks gang and become the overlord of this sea region. He had always been too lazy to pay attention to them. This time, they were solved by these two young people. It was really a big help to him. Just based on this, Naka should treat them well. Naka looked at the bounty poster for a while and finally said, "Are these two people eyeing it?" "Captain, we've already targeted them." The subordinate standing next to Naka nodded and said, "As long as you give the order, we can immediately besiege these two people and bombard them. We will never let them leave this sea alive." Naka got up and kicked back. With a single kick, he sent his subordinate flying several meters away. This beautiful roundhouse kick was a classic move of ancient Muay Thai. Steadiness, accuracy, and ruthlessness were all indispensable. Those who were kicked in the vitals could even be fatally crippled. Although this subordinate was only hit in the back, it was enough to make him unable to get out of bed for 2 days. Who said I wanted them to die? Naka said coldly. Can you use your brains when you do things in the future? Use your brains and think about what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and what you should do. Do you need me to tell you? Can't you use your brain? Naka had a strange temper, which was why his subordinates were afraid of him. However, Naka was also a very generous person. He could get a lot of benefits from following him, which was why all his subordinates were willing to follow him. Most pirate leaders would keep 90% of the spoils for themselves, and the remaining 10% would be divided among their subordinates. Whether it was a large organization like the White Whale Society or a small organization like the Sea Monster Society, they all used this method of sharing benefits. Only Naka wasn't like this. Naka would take out 50% of the spoils and give them to his subordinates. His generosity made many people loyal to him, and he could get 4 times more benefits here than elsewhere. The only thing he had to endure was Naka's strange temper. Naka would often attack casually, and his hands were heavy. If someone who didn't have the ability to resist was beaten by him, death and disability would be a thing. This meant that even if he would give away 50% of his wealth, there would still be people who would go to the White Whale Society or other pirate groups that could only share 10%. This was a very normal phenomenon. Everyone had their own aspirations, and everyone pursued different things. No matter how eccentric Naka's temper was, there would always be people who pursued money. No matter how generous Naka was, there would always be people who pursued comfort. Once Naka got angry, his subordinates didn't dare to speak easily. No one wanted to burn Naka's anger on themselves. There was only one way for him to vent his anger. Once his anger was vented, the matter would be over. Let me tell you, these 2 people can't die. These 2 people are very important to us. Do you understand? Naka said. New faces, holders of the Mahogany Order. What does this mean? This means that if we don't take these 2 people down, that old guy surnamed Gu's strength will increase again. Isn't that right? Who said it wasn't? All the subordinates were angry but didn't dare to say anything. It was because they were afraid that Gu Magpie World's strength would increase that they had to kill these 2 guys. That was why they had to end this Mahogany Order holder's life. What's the result of killing them? It won't increase Gu's strength. Naka's anger had mostly been vented. And then? There's no then. Their strength hasn't increased, and our strength is still the same. The final result is that we wasted so much energy in vain, but we changed the situation that didn't change anything. In that case, why don't we leave these 2 people to the White Whale Society to kill? Won't it save us some energy? That made sense. That was quite reasonable. Everyone was nodding. It seemed that Boss Naka's thoughts were different this time. He didn't want to interfere in this matter today. It really wasn't his style. Just when everyone thought that Naka was going to ignore this matter, Naka spoke again. Then why should I let you keep an eye on them? Why? Who can tell me why? Phew. The whole place was silent. No one dared to speak. If they said something wrong, it would be death. Trash rice buckets, all of you are useless. You can't even understand such a simple logic. Naka said, my sacrifice is to change the situation. If these 2 people can join us, then our strength will increase. If they can't join us, then we will lead them to the White Whale Society. The White Whale Society's strength will be weakened, and it will also be a blow to Gu. Do you understand? Do you understand what I mean? Only then did the subordinates understand the boss's good intentions. Captain, you know, Camel was trying to bribe these 2 people at that time, so he was destroyed. This kind of subordinate who dared to speak really didn't care about his life. But the eccentric Naka suddenly appreciated him and said softly, yes, that's right. You're right. I like people like you who dare to tell the truth. But I also want to tell you, don't compare me with a small character like Camel. What can he give them? He doesn't have the ability to meet their requirements. But I do. Yes. Naka's face revealed an unfathomable smile. Now you all understand what I mean, right? If you understand, then quickly do as I say and do what you should do. Those who don't know what to do, Use your brain and think carefully. Naka pointed at his temple. I've told you many times that you have to use your brain to do things. Here is the brain. Do you understand? Naka liked talents with high IQ. Unfortunately, talents with high IQ knew that staying by his side would lead to their death sooner or later, so there were no talents with high IQ around him. Most of his subordinates would only do things according to his orders, but they didn't know how to use their brains to think about something. This was a situation that Naka hated very much. But this situation that Naka hated very much was definitely not something that could be changed in a short time. He didn't realize that this situation was caused by his own personality flaw. Chapter 16:11. In terms of identity as a Pacific pirate, the only one who could challenge Naka was probably Chiu Hung of the Beluga Whale clan. Yes, he was from the Fuguang region of Huaxia. However, he had been away from home for too long and had long lost his Chinese character. Speaking of which, Chiu Hung could be considered a descendant of a famous family among the pirates. His ancestor was a famous sea merchant and pirate in the late Ming dynasty. Chiu Heng's ancestor, Chiu Jifa, became a legendary figure in the eyes of many during the late Ming dynasty. In his early years, Chiu Jifa left his hometown and ventured into the world to become a pirate. However, at the same time he relied on his outstanding intelligence to become a sea merchant and a pirate. Later on, he used the money in his hands to get close to the imperial court and became an official, becoming a special existence that was both a merchant and an official. Chiu Jifa's triple identity of being an official, a pirate, and a merchant could indeed be considered a legend. Chiu Hung admired his ancestor very much. He had heard his father talk about his ancestor since he was young. Chiu Jifa was involved in a wide range of maritime activities, from the sea to the land, from within the country to overseas. He had frequent trade contacts with Japanese, Americans, and Europeans. In the fierce competition of overseas commerce, Chiu Jifa was quick-witted and good at using interpersonal relationships to deal with matters. Through various means he obtained huge wealth. In a dozen years, he became a sea merchant whose wealth could rival that of a country. His pirate clan was definitely at an epic level. He had 1,000 ships and 100,000 men. After entering the Ming dynasty, he controlled 10,000 ships of all kinds. He was able to gather 3,000 ships and could be called the king of ships in this world. In his later years, Chiu Jifa led armed fleets across the sea and attacked the imperial court. When the officers and soldiers saw him, they were like mice that saw a cat. What was even more legendary was that he had repelled several invasions by the European colonists in Huaxia's South China Sea. He also destroyed other pirate groups and unified the sea, completely shaking the Southeast Sea. Later on, the imperial court was also afraid of him and made him a sea general, making him an official. After becoming an official, Chiu Jifa used the power in his hands and his sea strength to completely monopolize overseas trade. This was the legendary history of Chiu Heng's ancestor. Therefore, as a pirate, he could indeed be called a descendant of a famous family. However, it was a pity that the later generations did not have Chiu Jifa's courage, so the family continued to decline. In the Qing dynasty, due to the pressure of the imperial court and the more powerful naval forces of the Eight-Nation Alliance, Chiu Jifa's descendants declined generation after generation. After the new Huaxia was established, pirates were not allowed to exist, and Chiu Heng's father's generation was completely wiped out. Chiu Hung knew that he would never be able to make a name for himself in the Southeast Sea of Huaxia. If he wanted to bring glory to his ancestors and take back what his ancestor, Chiu Jifa, had once owned, he would have to go to a remote sea region. Today's society was no longer the same as before, so the choice of location was very important. Chiu Hung wanted to go to the Caribbean or Malacca, but the local tyrants in those places were not to be trifled with. Furthermore, he had heard of the white-haired old man's reputation. With his abilities back then, the white-haired old man could probably kill him with a flick of his finger. He did not want to be a cleaner on the white-haired old man's ship. He did not want to rely on anyone to become a pirate. He wanted to be the leader. It was with this strong desire that Chiu Hung came to the Pacific Ocean and infiltrated a small pirate group. In 2 months, he overthrew the small pirate group's regime, and killed the incompetent captain. Yes, the Beijing clan back then was a small pirate group with less than 30 people. A dilapidated ship was all they had. 26 years. Qiu Heng used 26 years to develop the Beijing clan from a small pirate group with less than 30 people to a large pirate group with more than 1,000 subordinates. Although this number could not be compared to his ancestors, the world was different now. There were only a handful of pirate groups with more than 1,000 subordinates in the world, and there were too many in the past. Huaxia pirates at the end of the Eastern Jin dynasty. Ancestor? Sun An's pirate army of nearly 1 million people moved to the vast area south of the Yangtze River and dominated both the East and South Seas. This was even more exaggerated. In other words, in today's world, it was already a very terrifying number for a pirate to have a main force of more than 1,000 people. The white-haired old man definitely had one. Moreover, everyone on his ship was famous and had the ability to establish a pirate group on their own. It was only because they were sincerely convinced by him that they were willing to be his subordinates. Qiu Heng's thousands of subordinates could not be compared with the white-haired old man. But in this sea, no one dared to be compared with him. Oh yes, there was one, and that was the somewhat psychopathic and eccentric Naka. Naka's shark gang and Qiu Heng's Beijing clan were recognized as the two major forces here. Even the ancient magpie world did not dare to underestimate them. Although it was difficult to tell who was stronger between the two, for some reason, most people would think that Qiu Heng was slightly better. Whether it was because he was a descendant of a famous family, or because Naka was somewhat psychopathic and eccentric, it was hard to say. Since Naka had already set his eyes on Su Yin and Lin Ge, Qiu Heng naturally would not remain silent. His trusted deputy, Curly, brought him all the information they had, including the fact that Naka's people had already set their eyes on Su Yin and Lin Ge. The biggest difference between Qiu Heng and Naka was that Qiu Heng was better at using people and trusting people, unlike Naka, whose confidants were all Thai people. Qiu Heng would not take care of his own people and not give others a chance. He only had one philosophy, and that was to take care of those who could. Although Curly was not Chinese, he was deeply trusted and valued by Qiu Heng. Qiu Heng looked at the bounty poster in his hand many times. Such a young face made him feel deeply. When he first arrived, he was only 20 years old. Now he was 46 years old. Time is really unforgiving. It's so good to be young. Curly, we have an old saying in Huaxia. The back waves of the Yangtze River push the front waves, and the front waves die on the beach. Qiu Heng had already trained Curly to be a Huaxia expert. Do you know what this means? Curly nodded. Captain, you mean to say that the blue is better than the blue? Qiu Heng nodded. Sure enough, you know me. These two young people are not simple. Just by being able to obtain the mahogany order from Principal Gu at such a young age, it is not something that ordinary people can do. It is really not wise to make enemies with such people. What do you think Naka will do? That pervert Naka will definitely cause trouble for himself. Captain, I think we can take advantage of the situation, Curly said. Qiu Heng frowned and shook his head. I don't think Naka will be stupid in this matter. It's the first time someone with such a high bounty at such a young age has appeared in this part of the ocean. Naka will also know that the most important thing in today's society is talent. He will recruit. Curly was stunned. No way, just him. How could he make such a rational judgment? You know what kind of person he is. If I stand in his position and think about the problem, I think he might not be so friendly, right? Whoever can have such a strong helper might be able to achieve hegemony. When Qiu Heng said this, there was no expression on his face at all. He had to be careful. There was nothing absolute in the world. If Naka really got lucky and could get such a powerful helper, then it would be hard to say who was the boss in this sea. On that day, the same principle was suitable for him. If he could get such a talent, then he would also become the overlord of this sea. In fact, things were really that simple. And if none of them could get such a strong helper, then the suppression of the ancient magpie world on them would become even worse in the future. This was a tripartite interest relationship. Qiu Heng had a headache. He didn't know how his ancestor would deal with it if he was still here. How could he reap the benefits of the fisherman's quarrel? Chapter 16:12. Now, Su Yun and Lin Ge were completely unaware of the whirlpool behind them. Under this seemingly calm sea, huge waves had already begun to spin and were approaching them step by step. 2 days at sea passed very slowly. Su Yun and Lin Ge still had nothing to show for it. They didn't get any news about Phantom, and of course, they didn't have any news about Martin or Franz Island's prison for serious criminals. Fortunately, Su Yun was prepared for a protracted battle. He didn't feel disappointed because of this momentary disappointment. The Pacific Ocean was so big, 2 days was nothing. As long as they continued to work hard, they would definitely gain something. In these 2 days, Su Yun also experienced the benefits of Yi Yuan's mahogany medallion. He really admired Principal Gu's character in this area of the sea. Everyone who saw the mahogany medallion knew that they were Principal Gu's people. When they saw the mahogany medallion, they treated it as if they were seeing Principal Gu. In these 2 days, they had landed on 5 islands. All of them were served tea, wine and food. The degree of enthusiasm made Su Yun and Lin Ge feel embarrassed. This also eased Su Yun and Lin Ji's disappointment to a certain extent. While experiencing different customs and customs, Su Yun and Lin Ji's current state of mind quickly became Su Yun and Lin Ji's current state of mind. As the saying goes, don't rush. If it's yours, it's yours. If it's not yours, then it's meaningless to do more. Su Yun would do his best to find Phantom. There was no need to feel guilty. It was that simple. 2 days of peace really made Su Yun and Lin Ge feel a little relaxed. However, when they set off on their journey on the 3rd morning, they quickly got into trouble again. In the vast ocean, a lone boat and a person looked so pitiful. And it was the person on this lone boat who asked Su Yun and Lin Ge for help. Judging from the gloomy weather this morning, it was obvious that a storm was unavoidable. This storm didn't need to be too big to easily sink the lone boat. This was something that was beyond doubt. Lin Ge looked at Su Yun. He didn't know what to do. Let him come up. Su Yun didn't think much about it. He just felt that saving a life was better than building a 7-storied pagoda. The first thing the rescued person did was to kneel heavily in front of Su Yun and Lin Ge and sincerely say, "Thank you." Su Yun and Lin Ge were dumbfounded. Just now they were shouting in English for help. Suddenly, Chinese came out. Chinese? Yes. The rescued man raised his head. It was indeed a Chinese man with yellow skin and black eyes. "My name is Zhang Ji. I can recognize that my 2 benefactors are Chinese at first glance. That's really fate. In this vast ocean, we actually met." Su Yun smiled. "Since we are all Chinese, then don't call us benefactors. My name is Su Yun. He is my brother Lin Ge. You can do whatever you want on the boat. I'm not used to it." Although Lin Ge also had a smile on his face, he was much more vigilant than Su Yun. "Yes, you don't have to be so restrained. Where are you going? Let's take you there on the way." As soon as this person got on the boat, Lin Ge issued a disguised order to leave. After all, he was a stranger. Staying on the boat was indeed a bit unsettling. "I don't know where I can go." Zhang Ji smiled bitterly. I'll tell you my identity. Don't mind it. I'm a pirate who was expelled from the sea. Our captain gave me a small boat and let me fend for myself. I've been floating on the sea for 3 days and 3 nights. Did you commit a crime? Su Yun asked. Zhang Ji nodded. He wanted to say something but hesitated. Lin Ge sized up Zhang Ji and asked, "What crime did you commit? Which pirate crew are you from? They banished you directly. They don't intend to let you go back alive, right?" Zhang Ji nodded again. "Yes. The captain didn't intend to let me go back alive. I'm a pirate from the White Whale crew." Oh, this really piqued Su Yun and Lin Ji's curiosity. The White Whale crew was a great pirate crew. It was normal for them to banish 1 or 2 people. It could be considered fate that they bumped into each other. "White Whale crew a big force," Su Yun said calmly. "Then what crime did you commit?" Zhang Ji smiled bitterly and sighed. "I admit, as a pirate, I have no right to talk about justice and principles. But I still can't accept some things. I can rob and rob, but they forced me to rape those pitiful girls. I really can't do it." Su Yun and Lin Ge looked at each other. This guy was quite principled. "I'm a newbie in the White Whale crew. Because I didn't do such despicable things, my captain ordered me to be banished and left me to fend for myself. Zhang Ji said. But I still can't do it. I'd rather be banished than do such things. Su Yan gave him a thumbs up in appreciation. Manly enough. That's why I ended up like this. Zhang Ji smiled bitterly. Benefactors, you are seafarers? Or adventurers? Can you take me with you on future voyages? I want to be one of you. I don't want to be a pirate without integrity anymore. We're neither seafarers nor adventurers. We have our own things to do, so it's inconvenient. Lin Gu rejected him at once. When we reach the next island, you can disembark. With our reputation, we can definitely get the islanders to help you think of a way to leave. We can't take you with us. Zhang Ji was stunned. I can bear hardships. I can do odd jobs for benefactors, cook, clean the ship. I can do anything. Just let me stay. You can cook? Let's give it a try. Su Yan smiled. Lin Gu was stunned. Bro this. Su Yan gestured for him to do as he said. Lin Gu didn't say anything. If Su Yan really wanted to keep this guy on the ship, he wouldn't say anything. He just needed to pay more attention to this guy. Hearing that, Zhang Ji immediately went to the ship's kitchen to prepare breakfast. He was really good at it. Although it was just a simple buttered toast and fried eggs, it looked delicious. Zhang Ji put 2 sets of breakfast in front of Su Yan and Lin Gu. He looked at them expectantly, hoping to get their approval. Lin Gu took a bite of the fried egg and nodded with satisfaction. He liked this kind of tender fried egg. It felt so good. 1 bite and it turned yellow. Not bad, bro. This guy's cooking is really good. Try it. Su Yan nodded and gave his share to Zhang Ji. You eat it. Zhang Ji was stunned. Benefactor, are you complaining that I didn't cook it well? I can improve it. Really, I can improve it. Try it. If there's anything bad, point it out to me. I'm saying you eat it. I didn't say it was bad, Su Yan said. Zhang Ji was stunned. Su Yan's voice changed. You've been drifting on the sea for 3 days. Aren't you hungry? Hearing Su Yan's words, Lin Gu immediately understood Su Yan's intention. Without saying anything, he suddenly pressed Zhang Ji's throat on the table. No wonder I felt that there was something wrong with you. I'm hungry, but I don't dare to eat. Benefactor, you haven't eaten yet. Zhang Ji explained. It seems that you haven't experienced what it's like to be hungry for 3 days. If you want to experience it, I can help you. Su Yan. Let me tell you, people who have been hungry for 3 days don't care about any other factors when it comes to food, because they will starve to death if they don't eat. Is life more important or other things more important? Isn't this a simple question? Zhang Ji was stunned. He didn't know how to refute or explain. You've been drifting on the sea for 3 days, and you don't even have the smell of damp sea salt on you. Su Yan continued. Tell me, where did you sleep last night? Brother, you knew that there was something wrong with him. Why didn't you tell me? I almost believed him, Lin Gu said. I ate the food he made. I really don't know if he poisoned it. Su Yan smiled. I just wanted to see if you could tell. Pigeon, be careful in the future. Do you understand? Yes. Lin Gu nodded, indicating that he understood. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.